Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Come on, get on. Yeah. All right, take it easy. God, he was a little heavy, huh?
Yeah, it depends on how much you lift.
Or hit the treadmill or something. How's that?
It could be a little lower.
Oh, thank you, Mace, for helping our favorite referee into the luxurious portable office.
My pleasure.
Now, I gotta ask, when we picked you up, you're watering your lawn, and what? I've never seen grass that green. You gotta give me your landscaper because...
Mansoor, focus.
Sorry. On to business. Mace and I represent a certain WWE superstar who feels the recent officiating of his matches have been a little,
Unacceptable.
His word, not ours. You see, Mace and I are fixers. We're like handymen. We see a leak that needs filling, we patch it. We see a screw that needs tightening, we twist it.
We see a nail that needs hammering.
You get the idea. So the next time you're officiating our associates match, in the interest of anonymity, let's call him Dolph Ziggler. Maybe your hand gets a little heavier when you're counting his pinfalls. You do that, we got no problem. You don't.
If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. For it is better to go through life maimed than it is to enter hell with two hands, where the fire always burns.
You come up with that yourself?
Mark 943.
So, do we have a deal? Shame.
I implore you to reconsider our generous offer.
Great.
He said yeah, he said yeah.
Oh! Mace, he said yes!
My hand slipped.
Onto his face? Hey, pleasure doing business with you.
It's Saturday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
The wait all week long is finally over. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and much more. The Don Tony Show.
And now your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
I tell you, I posted a little sticky in the comments section, the chat section, of all the WWE releases, which is the one that if you can convince WWE to change their mind, who would it be? And I tell you, on the surface, you know, my immediate reaction may have been Dolph Ziggler, because he still had so much more to give and, you know, be not just in front of the camera, but behind. But I got to tell you, man, as a duo, Mace and Mansoor, I don't know, man. You know, I know, listen, you all know that there is a boatload of people out there that never liked the Maximum Male Models. Yeah, the gimmick was kind of stupid. If you remember when they debuted on TV, a majority of everyone out there thought, oh, you know what? I'm actually kind of feeling this. I've always liked the duo together. You know, they posted that video that once Maximum Male Models was done, that they started doing little vignettes to maybe give some ideas to WWE. The problem is, you know, when you're satiring Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and WWE just went Hollywood, you know, you might be a little bit too late for that. And even if you do spark something, how does that turn into a year-long run, a 2-year-long run? Doing skits, you know, Breezango kind of got away with it for a little while. But even that, it was backstage skits, and ultimately it ended up in NXT. It was part of some of the lowest ratings of the show, and ultimately they were gone as well. So we're going to break down every release that has transpired in the last couple of days, both WWE and NXT. We will give a brief overview of each person. We will discuss where they could be headed next. Could they be headed to AEW? I think some actually would be a great fit for Impact Wrestling. Absolutely. Japanese wrestling, indies, some may start thinking, you know what, let me call it a career. And not just because of their age, but because you see, sometimes it just doesn't work out. So we'll talk about that. But, we also got to talk about something that's very, very important. And, I'm not going to poke fun at a lot of other shows out there. But a lot of people thought it was funny and actually made a big deal about it on social media that when Vince McMahon had a meeting, this is not pro Vince, just making a comment. Vince McMahon had a meeting with WWE earlier this week, and he was with Ari Emanuel and someone else. And Vince said that they pulled this deal because WWE became stagnant. And what was the repetitive remark being thrown online? People were rolling their eyes at what Vince was saying. And, you got the people online, and it's the same people that when WWE released 100 wrestlers during COVID and then showed record profits, they never learn, guys. They never educate themselves. It's like they were in third grade 3 years ago, and they're still in third grade now. It's the bottom line. You got to hustle. When you're a publicly traded company worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, you got to hustle. You got to make that bottom line. If you show any sign of decline, that could sway investors. When Vince McMahon said that WWE was becoming stagnant, I believed it 100%. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's not something you're going to read anywhere else. And it's going to have to do with the releases. It's going to have to do with the TV deals that are coming up. You actually start putting stuff together. And what is the future of Saudi Arabia's deal with WWE? Will they re-up it? Yeah, I think so. Will it be the amount of money that was pitched before? No, the new car scent is kind of worn off a little bit. Going to Saudi Arabia, is not as monumental. People say if AEW started going to Wembley or that surrounding areas, 2-3 times a year, you may start off with 72,265 in attendance, 81,000 paid. Then you may drop down to 50,000. Then you may drop down to 38,000, and case in point, Arthur Ashe, Dynamite this past week. You look at what the attendance was 2 years ago when they came for the first time here. It was a happening over here. My neck of the woods, I had a lot of friends from yesteryear, people I hadn't talked to for 5-10 years. Hey, we're all going to go to AEW, and people just talking, it was a happening. Last year, it wasn't as big of a deal, but still, nice place to go and a decent show last year. And this year they had a much harder time. Buy one, get one free, putting tickets on sale. The newness factor wears off. It doesn't become a happening as much as it was before. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We got to comment a little bit about SmackDown. Couple of things that changed yesterday, a couple of dark matches that went down yesterday, and I have some video footage that you'll probably enjoy, which I'll get into in a little bit. Best wishes go out to LA Knight. Best wishes go out to Adam Cole, and best wishes go out to Jon Moxley. LA Knight, for those that don't know, has COVID. Yesterday, he showed up at SmackDown not feeling well. They were taking his temperature. It was a little bit elevated, and they decided, you know what, let's give you a COVID test. He tested positive. So they sent him home. Listen, every person handles COVID differently. Some people these days, COVID is nowhere near what it was strength-wise compared to a couple of years ago. Some people 2-3 days, they're testing negative. All right, but LA Knight tested positive yesterday for COVID. Now, we don't know if he got hit with COVID 2-3 days ago because it does take a couple of days for it to incubate. So we're hoping that He got it maybe 4 or 5 days ago, 6 days ago, and within a couple of days, he'll be almost 100%. This is very important because yesterday he was supposed to make the save for John Cena when Cena was getting beat down by Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. Didn't happen. Nobody came out. AJ Styles put on a stretcher, taken out in the hospital because of the beatdown by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, which makes people believe that the match at Fastlane between AJ Styles and John Cena versus Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso is not happening. It does not appear that it's happening. Most people believe now it's going to be LA Knight and John Cena versus Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And the reason why WWE is going with LA Knight, yes, to elevate him a little bit more. But when you're a kid and you get a little scrape, you fall on the floor, you scrape your knee, you start crying like a little baby. You don't want a regular little brown Band-Aid. You want, strawberry shortcake. You want The Simpsons. You want carrot card. Oh, look, Flintstones Band-Aid. Yay, I feel better. Yay. LA Knight is the fans' Band-Aid that they are doing gots with Roman Reigns right now. So LA Knight messing with the bloodline a little bit, leads maybe to a match against Roman Reigns. I don't know, Saudi Arabia, maybe. Some people will be like, wow, that's too freaking soon. Hey, we know who's finishing the story at WrestleMania. So if we know that that's the path, and they're not changing it, and Roman is going to keep these belts until WrestleMania, if you had a choice of who you'd like to see him face along the way, LA Knight would be at the top of a lot of people's lists. So LA Knight, and listen, Solo Sikoa could cause the loss. Jimmy Uso could cause the loss. There could be DQs involved. There could be dirty finishes. But this also helps elevate. Listen, people still talk about Sami Zayn in Elimination Chamber early this year. And a lot of people felt that Sami Zayn should have won the championship. He didn't win the championship, and that was the right decision. But Sami Zayn is on a different level now. So this, in the end, will help LA Knight, even in a losing effort. Now, here is the asterisk. What if LA Knight is not strong enough to compete at Fastlane? Now, Fastlane is what? Isn't it next week or the week? It's the week after. It's the week after, because next week is NXT. No Mercy. Somebody double check the date for Fastlane for me. I think it's the week after. It has to be the week after. You know why? I have the poster in front of me. I should have just pulled it up. Yeah, it's October 7th. It's the week after. They have booked 0 matches so far. 0. None. Nada. Goose egg. So next week would be the 29th of September. So you have 2 SmackDowns left. LA Knight should be good to go for Fastlane. However, what happens if there's a problem? Well, now there's a little rumor flying around that John Cena's mystery opponent could be Randy Orton, because Randy Orton was seen at the Performance Center, doing a little workout, this and that. I don't believe you put Randy Orton in that spot. Whoever you put in that spot with John Cena has to feud with the bloodline going into the fall months. I think LA Knight is the only option. If LA Knight, for any reason, is unable to compete in 2 weeks, they could always go with AJ Styles again. I mean, AJ Styles was taken out on an ambulance. We've seen people taken out on an ambulance and show up on TV 2 days later. So it's not like AJ Styles is done, cooked, over. If anything, wouldn't it make AJ Styles look like a moron if he returns to SmackDown 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month from now, and he has no interaction with the bloodline? Where's the revenge? he's got to get some type of revenge. So do not discount the possibility that AJ Styles is still in this match. Verse says WWE starting to get boring again. Yeah, they've hit brick walls. They have absolutely hit some brick walls. You know, again, when you hear Vince saying that WWE is getting stagnant, look at the TV deal that they just inked for SmackDown, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. We're going to get into releases now. Then we'll proceed into other topics. But you look at the declining ratings on Raw. SmackDown is not drawing ratings like it used to. What happens with the future with WWE and Saudi Arabia? In fact, when we talk about releases, you know, it's interesting. You know, some of the names that were let go because of this. Listen, look at it like this. Let's look at it like this. WWE gets, what, $100 million for a Saudi Arabia event? 100 mil per event, whatever it is. Let's say Shanky or Mansoor. Let's say Saudi Arabia. Oh, Mansoor, hometown hero. He must be on the shows. Even if WWE said Mansoor, Manor, whatever you want to call him, we don't have nothing for you. Well, you know what? You seal him up in one of those, freezer bags, and you keep him saved for 2 times a year. You seal him up in a bag. You keep him 2 times a year. Because if WWE is making that much money in Saudi Arabia, you mean to tell me with $100 million a show, you can't say to Mansoor, hey, we got nothing for you, but we'll use you 2 times a year. So just sit home, play with your kids, enjoy life with your family. We'll give you $200,000 because in the end, we're getting 500 times that from Saudi Arabia per show. Per show. So I do find some of the releases interesting. Now, obviously, some people thought they were going to play gotcha with yours truly. And I say, playing gotcha. Because for those on video, if you look at your screen, these are the bigger names that were released this week from WWE. We will get into them one by one. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because there is over 20, but some of the names a little bit surprising, some not so surprising. I will say this before I open up anything. You saw the lowest of the low amongst the IWC this week. People trending because fans wanted to see them fired. I understand. There's some people that rub you the wrong way. I get it. For some people, it's more get him off my TV than actually take away his income or her income. But in some cases, some of the names that were being floated around was awful. And I'm not going to say one name in particular. I just want to show you when we talked about the formula when Hana Kimura unfortunately passed, that formula where for a couple of weeks, at the end of the day, we're all wrestling fans. We got to do better. We got to be better. Why do we have to wait for a tragedy to be better? And everybody acts kumbaya. And then slowly you start throwing little jokes around. Oh, no, it's just a joke. I don't have any. It's just kidding. It's not the person personally. Then little by little, someone else will say something stupid and you kind of retweet it, you LOL it, you like it. And the next thing you know, you're back to being a total asshole. And it keeps going over and over and over. One of the names that was trending, and when you clicked on it, it was people saying, why isn't so-and-so released? This person tried to take their life earlier in the year. Mental health issues, and this person is in a much better place. And, I root for this person. Some of you know who I'm talking about. But imagine how and people with a clear fucking head, even if you felt that we all believed, yeah, deep down inside, why is this person employed? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I saw the lowest of low. I blocked so many people this week, not because I'm mad in this. I just don't want to see their dumb shit anymore. I muted so many people. I have people like, how come you don't like any of my posts? And I feel bad to say, because I muted your ass. I don't want to see your annoying shit anymore. So I just want to throw that out there because that was just terrible. Terrible. Stupid. Very stupid. All right. Let's talk about it. So, guys, what do you want to talk about? All right. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. This is the person that everybody tried to play God. Oh, Don Tony, you said he was sick with an inner ear infection and he was coming back in 2 weeks. Yeah, that was the plan. You think they told Matt Riddle when he was in India, when he was at JFK, when he got the flight to go back to Florida, California, wherever he was? Yeah, listen, we'll bring you back in 2 weeks. If I'm breaking up with a girl 2 weeks from now, and she's like, hey, honey, hey, you want to do something tomorrow? Oh, I got to work. Maybe, we'll do something next week. In the back of your mind, in 2 weeks, you're going to can the person. Everything that I told you what happened was 1,000% true. Matt Riddle, everybody, look at the people who said that he was going to be back at Raw this Monday. I told you 2 weeks ago that wasn't happening. Minimum 2 weeks before they would bring him back because of the ear infection. He felt better. I told you last Monday he felt better. But WWE decided he was going to be released, and he was released. Now, what is interesting is this. Look at the date of this tweet, September 20th. You have Matt Riddle doing these classes, and he had another class scheduled for that Thursday. So, obviously he was feeling better, but he's been teaching these classes, involved in these classes. And when I saw that on Wednesday, I was like, that's interesting. I would think that, wouldn't he be like preparing for WWE return instead of pretty much advertising classes? So I thought that was very, very interesting. But yesterday, a day after most of the releases were revealed, Matt Riddle posted this on Twitter. Quote, just wanted to inform everyone that I'm no longer with WWE. Thank you for the memories and opportunities. Also, thank you to the fans for the support and love you give me every time. The love you give me every time I go out to the ring. See you all again soon. Now, I did talk to somebody private about this. All I'll tell you is this. Most of the people that were released have 90-day no-competes. So they are good to go until the end of the year. Till the end of the year. They're going to be paid till the end of the year. Matt Riddle and Misha Montana are about to have their first kid together in early December. So right now, for Matt Riddle, it's basically training in his school, the dojo, doing that stuff and preparing for the birth of his kid. 90 days from now, he will be officially a free agent, and we see where he goes. The thing is could he end up in AEW? I honestly don't think so. Simply because I could just imagine the IWC reaction about Matt Riddle's, issues in the past. I could see that trending. I could see that constantly going on. I could see that just blowing up. And I just can't picture Tony Khan with a straight face, having the balls. This is not a knock on Tony Khan, but I just can't see him justifying that. Yes, there's others that have some questionable history, but still, I just don't see Matt Riddle in AEW. I think Impact Wrestling is a possibility. Impact Wrestling, I broke it last Saturday. I'm going to break it again to you this week. It's not anything. It's not a big deal, but for Impact fans, it is. This past Thursday, they had the second night to celebrate Impact 1000. Last Saturday, I told you that not only did it not break the top 150, the rating went down and the demo was 0.01. That is, there's 0.00 is the next level. They drew almost nobody. 100,000 viewers this week with the women's match and everything. Did even worse. You could bring in Mercedes Moné, Jesus Christ, Matt Riddle. Fans have just decided, I'm not interested. They just announced Will Ospreay, complete with tattoo. It's going to be on Impact. Is that going to suddenly... Jay White was there. Did it blow the ratings? No. So Matt Riddle could show up there. It's not going to be a game changer. But right now, basically, it's, he's got other kids as well. He's got family. That's where his priorities are. GCW Bloodsport, absolutely one full podcast. That is a great idea. I could see him absolutely going to GCW. They will pay to have him there. So that's a great idea. NWA, I don't see it. I just don't see it with NWA. But Matt Riddle, listen, just because I'm friendly with people in and around the wrestling doesn't mean that I stick up for them or don't tell it like it is. I do not deny Matt Riddle has had a lot of fucking issues over the years. The stuff at JFK, I'm telling you guys, he was not fired because of the JFK incident. The JFK incident was simple. Jet lag, sick, India tour, traveling 20 hours, stuck in an airport for 8 hours. Then you get some assholes at security. Why do you paint your fingernails? What's up with your hair? Why do you sound like that? Are you high? That's what basically they were doing. The thing is now is with TKO, these releases did not happen overnight. WWE and TKO were discussing many of these names for weeks, if not months. It's just you got to understand, once the merger goes down, that's when financially this comes into play. And Matt Riddle doesn't have a positive past with Dana White. WWE feels, you know what? Too much baggage right now. We got to let him go. And that's what they did. End of story. Whether people like it or don't like it or celebrating it, that's the deal. And they let him go. We move on. I am very surprised, and I'm not, about Dolph Ziggler being let go. Is Dolph Ziggler a future WWE Hall of Famer? Yeah. May not happen until he shows a lot of age 10 years from now, maybe. But Dolph Ziggler, Sportskeeda, they got some good people there and they got some, matarazzas. But Sportskeeda posted this that is pretty amazing when you look at it. Not just one-time Money in the Bank winner from 2012, four-time tag team champion, two-time United States champion, six-time Intercontinental champion, one-time NXT champion, two times World Heavyweight champion, had 1,554 matches. Third all-time in WWE's history. And the guy still can go at 150%. The guy still looks amazing. He is honestly, I personally think for Dolph Ziggler, I think he just wants to focus. I noticed a lot of media in wrestling were talking about, Dolph Ziggler, he could be a trainer somewhere. He could, maybe, win a title. I could see him in AEW. Absolutely, I could see him in AEW. But the one topic, the one subject that they all left out was politics. I'm not saying he's going to run for office, but I fucking guarantee you will see Dolph Ziggler on Fox News, possibly, Greg Gutfeld. I'm just throwing examples out there, whether I'm not saying I like them and I don't like. I'm just saying. You will see Dolph Ziggler at many shows talking politics. Do not discount that. Dolph Ziggler will be paid to do that stuff. He's done stand-up work. If he still wants to pursue stand-up, he could do that. That's why I think Gutfeld, if anybody that follows that show, it's not what it used to be. I went to one of the live shows right when COVID broke out. I got to meet Tyrus in person. Fucking nice guy, man. We'll talk about that another time. But, I could see him absolutely being on Gutfeld late at night with his humor, talking about social issues, not just politics. Absolutely. Dolph Ziggler is very, very respected in the world of pro wrestling. He's had some interesting, what was that chick's name on social media? She's a Greek name. Someone in the chat, if you throw it out there. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Wasn't there something going on between the two where he actually fooled around with her? What's her name? Papapas? Trisha Paytas? Trisha Paytas. JS, thank you. Yes, Trisha. Anybody? She still does YouTube videos, and I heard like she eats food and she gets like crazy views. Go figure. But Dolph Ziggler has been a professional in and outside of the ring. That guy, to me, is a future WWE Hall of Famer. Just to show you two things. Here is John Cena. Very simply put, 1,554 matches, #respect for Dolph Ziggler. John Cena tweeted that. Not trying to be a jerk, but The Rock decided to take a little bit more time to post his tweet. The Rock actually wrote, just seeing all the releases now, these days, so effing tough for the ones who gave their all to our crazy world of pro wrestling like Dolph Ziggler. What a decorated WWE career, and I'll always be a supporter and fan. Can't see what he and everyone else does next. That is high praise. That is high praise. Dolph Ziggler will do just fine. If Dolph Ziggler will work where he wants to work. Dolph Ziggler saved a lot of money that he has made over the years. Almost a 20-year career. Last week, it's either last week or this week, we just celebrated the anniversary of Dolph Ziggler debuting as Kerwin White's caddy. Remember that? Spirit Squad. To see where he can, and I still say this, whether he was still in WWE or not, I still say it. Him cashing in Money in the Bank, probably my favorite cash in, period. The way that crowd went nuts. Yes, a lot of people reacted because of the moment and the surprise factor, not necessarily Dolph, but the fact that fans popped the way they did, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, The Miz. I almost said Mike Awesome. Yeah, Mike Awesome trending. The Miz was trending yesterday, too, because some people were trying to say, The Miz, it's kind of played out now. No, it's not. Good luck to Dolph Ziggler. Good luck to Dolph Ziggler. All right, now we move to surprising but not surprising, Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali, next weekend, is supposed to take on Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship. Do you remember Monday's show that I did? Does anyone remember a little comment that I said? When they announced that Dragon Lee was going to take on Dominic Mysterio next Monday on Raw, I said, how disrespectful to Mustafa Ali. Because Mustafa Ali won a match to get the title shot for No Mercy. Dragon Lee lost matches. And going in the Go Home Raw show to NXT No Mercy, the Go Home show next week, Dominic Mysterio is going to take on Dragon Lee, even though Mustafa Ali has the title shot at No Mercy. I said on last Monday's show, disrespectful. Go back and watch it. Now we have an idea what WWE's thinking was. Some people think that Mustafa Ali requested this release, and the answer is incorrect. Mustafa Ali has been unhappy creatively in the past, but still getting paid and, doing what he was doing in NXT. I don't know what the outcome would have been at No Mercy. I honestly thought that he could have absolutely won the NXT North American Championship. The thing is, though, is that WWE, for some reason, cannot figure out how to utilize this guy. I mean, let's be honest. Retribution, awful. Trying to do the storyline that they did, with like an Antifa type deal. Stupid. Most recently, when he was on Raw, he looked like an Indian version of Sugar Shane Helms from back in the day. If you saw him in the back dancing and all that, it's like it almost felt like he was just mocking whatever they were telling him to do. But the thing is, I believe Dominic Mysterio will be losing the NXT North American Championship sooner than later. I absolutely think that he will. And the thing is, would they actually dare have Dragon Lee win it on Monday? No, I don't think so. Anything can happen, obviously, but they just decided Mustafa Ali is not the person. And then after NXT No Mercy, what do you do with Mustafa Ali? WWE just felt they had nothing for this guy. One of the most misused wrestlers in recent memory. Now, I'm going to say something, and this is based on a super shout out that I got earlier. All right. I want to show this to you. This is from Ronnie C. He says, good evening, DT. It's 8 p.m. here. What stands out to you about releases other than the obvious? For me, it's that no one is too old to continue a good wrestling career a good career in wrestling. He say what stands out to me about the releases for him is that no one is too old. And I agree. I think the oldest wrestler might be, Matt Riddle's 37? Mustafa Ali's got to be 37. Actually, I think Ali, Ziggler, and Riddle are between 35 and 30. No, Dolph Ziggler's 43. Mustafa Ali, I believe, is 37, and Matt Riddle's 37. Outside of that, everybody is pretty much younger. But I will say this. Not trying to stir anything up, but I'm going to just make the point. Mansoor, Shanky, Mustafa Ali. 3 names that you would want to see Saudi Arabia and India. Yes, we don't know when WWE is going to be touring India again. But it's sure, especially with Mansoor and Mustafa Ali, it certainly feels like, hey, we go to Saudi Arabia, we're now owned by TKO, that personal influence. Look, they're going to be going to Saudi Arabia, I think, in November. And they have somebody that is like this, I can't remember his name, somebody, not Christian Cage, somebody in the chat room post his name, if you don't mind. It's going to be teaming supposedly with John Cena. Is it going to be a novelty match? Is it going to be guest hosts? Are they going to just lay somebody out? But Cristiano Ronaldo, I think that's his name. Thank you, Eric Williams. That's where they're going with this. So as far as the personal hometown hero deal with Mansoor, I mean, they're not even keeping, and you'd think it was breaking the bank. So these names being cut, the personal, this is something we talked about before the merger was completed. The personal attachment to WWE is no more. I mean, the logo, the wrestlers, the people working behind the scenes, there's still an intimate connection. But as far as the end of the day, who signs the checks, especially that you look at the Endeavor and you look at the board of directors, and WWE doesn't have the majority anymore in the board of directors, and you have people in high places. A lot of people think that Nick Khan is the be-all, end-all, and Vince McMahon's the be-all, end-all with WWE decisions going forward. That is not fucking true. That is not true. So at the end of the day, that personal attachment, that personal aspect to shows. Look at Australia. When we get to a certain female, when we heard about WWE coming to Australia next year, she tweeted, "Oh my God, this is a dream." And a couple hours later, she tweets, "Never mind, I just got fired." You know, like the personal connection with the countries, they don't, I don't want to say they don't care about that anymore, but that's no longer a factor. You take our product as it is or you leave it. And that is one of the deals that we're seeing with everything that's going on. So Mustafa Ali, where does he go next? I absolutely think Mustafa Ali could go to AEW. Impact Wrestling I could see as well, but AEW, when you look at his style, there is a lot of wrestlers in AEW that he could tear it up with. You know, when you see him, you know, go overseas, when he had his match with Gunther, or you see sometimes they gave him some extra time, you realized how special of a guy he is in the ring. AEW style, he would fit in like a glove. He would fit in like a glove. How far he goes in AEW, though, we don't know. But I absolutely, especially with, you know, his background. So Impact Wrestling, maybe 3-month deal at the most. I don't see him doing I do not see Mustafa Ali doing indies. I really don't, unless it's a big event and they're going to overpay for this guy. I do not see him doing many indies. Appearances, conventions, yeah. I do not see him in Japan. Do not see him in Japan. But Mustafa Ali, I think we all agree, one of the most misused wrestlers that WWE is using. I think Ricochet kind of like follows up next, even though I think they've done a much better job of Ricochet over the last 8-9 months. But I almost feel like a year from now, we may be saying that about Ricochet. Just being honest. All right, let's move on because we still got several. Some we could fly through, obviously. Shelton Benjamin. It blows me away. I have a big smile on my face. It blows me away that if any of you out there heard, I played this not too long ago. It was, 2005 or 6? I was at a bar in Brooklyn, New York. And it was me, Amy Vitale, who used to be an indie wrestler, valet manager, and a couple other wrestlers. I don't remember who it was, but I had told them, because I was doing Hotline still at the time, and I told them about this weird guy named Captain Lenny. Some of you probably heard Jim Cornette and Brian Last talk about Captain Lenny. That is the wacko that I have about 28 hours of audio of him leaving wild shit on my voicemails from back in the day. I kept everything. I have over 20 hours of Captain Lenny just talking nuts on my voicemails. We called him live one day while we were at the bar. And we were basically, everybody was trying to get Captain Lenny to play some pocket pool. Don't ask me why. He had recently taken a bath with a dog, and he was talking about it. And I played the audio recently on the shows. People live on the shows, their medulla oblongatas were swelling up. But I will never forget from that phone call, who I don't remember the wrestler's name, but we were all hysterically laughing in the background. He said to Captain Lenny, he said, "Would you let Shelton Benjamin take a shit on your chest?" He was doing like an English accent, even though he was, Irish from, I think, Florida. And Captain Lenny, my friend, would you let Shelton Benjamin take a shit on your chest? That's what I remember. Other than I like woman. Oh my God. Shelton Benjamin, he's been there. He's left. Was back again. Shelton Benjamin, you can't help but absolutely love. Like, if you're not a fan of Shelton, he doesn't have to be in your top 20, but if you're not a fan of Shelton Benjamin, something's wrong. The guy is just class, in and out of the ring, professional, well-liked, reliable, always did what he needed to do. And I'm a little bit pissed that we're never going to get the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley versus Shelton Cedric and maybe Omos. Like a little battle within. They let him go. Shelton Benjamin is up there in age. Yeah, we were talking about age of wrestlers before. Shelton Benjamin's got to be over 40, obviously. He's got to be over 40. He's got to be in his early 40s. But Shelton Benjamin, though, I think at this point now, I think you will see him make an appearance in Japan. You will see him at conventions. That's a guy I think you could see in Impact Wrestling. If he shows up on AEW, I can't see him getting any type of push. I try to picture it, I try to feel it, and I try to say to myself, okay, what title would he go for? And there's so many goddamn titles in AEW, and I can't really figure where he would fit in. Shelton Benjamin will be a future coach, a mentor. He's already a mentor to a lot of people. Shelton Benjamin, as sad as it is to see him go, honestly, where was it going to go from here? Really, what are you going to do? Bring back stepmom, instead of mama? There's not much else they could have done with Shelton Benjamin. I wish he would still have a job there, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised if we learn later on that he was offered to be a trainer. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that. And maybe he felt, you know what, I still have some years left. I think Shelton, one thing you will realize is that some of these wrestlers will have chips on their shoulders and they will try to prove it in other companies. Shelton Benjamin probably has a chip on his shoulder because he wants to show everyone that he's not over the hill, that he should not be retired and he should not be looked at as a coach just yet. So we wish Shelton Benjamin nothing but the best. Next on the list. Now, you might be a little surprised. You might be a little surprised of what I say about this guy, Rick Boogs. Sure. I'm going to miss. I can't do it too loud, my neighbors. Shinsuke Nakamura! You don't play the guitar anymore. Rick Boogs, I think people would be surprised that he's been in WWE since 2017. Rick Boogs, as far as I know, did not have a wrestling career before coming to WWE. Rick Boogs, unfortunately, for me, in my opinion, too injury prone. Rick Boogs, if you go back and you watch even 3-4 years ago, some of the stuff, I don't want to say he's more gimmick than anything else. I mean, my God, if you're going to look at a wrestler you could slot him into the 80s. He almost looks like a Freddie Mercury on roids. Honestly, you look at him, he looks like Freddie Mercury on roids. You almost want to see him say, "We are the champions." He is so retro, but for some reason, just could not put it together. I think people forget how over he was with WWE fans, not just doing the Nakamura stuff. Even when they were kind of pairing him with Elias a little bit, I think, the fans still were into him. But I think injuries, I personally feel, and I'm sorry if this upsets anybody, I think TKO was looking at 6 years of what this guy has done and not done and said, too expensive, too much of a risk. See, you got to ignore social media and the journalists out there and the media pundits that are going to say, oh, they have record profits, and yet they fired 25 people. Oh, they got rid of 25 people, but they're going to overpay for CM Punk. This is the world of a publicly traded multi-billion-dollar company. Every dollar matters. And if they feel they're not getting the return on their investment, gets to a point where you got to be like, look, we ain't doing nothing with them right now. We can't figure out what to do with him in the near future. He's had a couple. Listen, that injury that happened not too long ago, that wasn't the first serious injury he had in WWE. He's been injured before. As much as I like Rick Boogs, I just feel WWE did not get the return on their investment. He's still in his 30s, mid-30s, I would say. Could I see him on the indie circuit? Absolutely. Rick Boogs, I think, will be on the indie circuit. I could see him in GCW doing some goofy stuff. Not saying that GCW is all goofy. There's some that I like. Rick Boogs, I see on the indies easily. Could he come? I could see him in NWA. Impact Wrestling? Maybe. I don't see him in AEW. And listen, the way Tony Khan brings people in, even for a Rampage, anybody on this list could pop up there, mostly everybody. So please do not, if he shows up on Rampage and loses to Nick Wayne, I don't want anybody to say, you said he never show up in AEW. I'm talking about having some type of career there. Rick Boogs, I wish him well, but honestly, he should have done a hell of a lot more in those 6 years, and he didn't. I'll miss his guitar, though. Now, obviously, Elias and Ezekiel. Why do I see little lines? Let me see if I can fix this. Yeah, you see? I'm trying to fix something. For me, this is when I do video, it gets a little annoying because I got to have everything almost perfect. There we go. All right. Surprised it allowed me to. All right. WWE has released Elias and Ezekiel. Elias finally admitted that he was Ezekiel. Yes, we know. Next to Mustafa Ali, gotta be one of the more misused wrestlers on the main roster. But WWE is the one that established him most known for sitting in the middle of the ring with the lights dim. I am Elias. See, I can't impersonate him because I sound Jewish. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I sound more like Maury Povich than anything else. Or Mel Brooks. Give me the fish. You'd see him in the ring. I am Elias. And then he would insult the local town. To me, his peak doing that, him and Kevin Owens trolling the fans. Oh, my God. That epic moment. Unfortunately, Elias, they never focused on his freaking wrestling. You know, he had the iTunes. He had an album in iTunes. Performed a concert, if I remember correctly, in New York City over here. The guy was getting a lot of play. The guy was trending. But so was Fandango. And I'm not trying to compare Fandango to Elias, but it gets to a point where, I don't want to say one-hit wonder, but Elias, you know, he had a shelf life. And for some reason, WWE tried to turn him babyface. And it felt like the same way when they tried to turn Alberto Del Rio babyface. There's just some people that you just don't turn. And Elias going out there and singing. Like, nobody listen, I'm not trying to, I'm exaggerating, but majority of people did not want him to sing an actual song. They wanted to hear him become creative and insult the local fucking town that he was in. And not just use baseball or football, basketball, sports teams. You know, that's where he was at his best. The problem is, do you pay that kind of money for someone to be most known for playing a guitar in the ring, insulting fans? And unfortunately for Elias, you know, they tried to do the Ezekiel thing. And, you know, it was funny for a hot minute, especially with the Kevin Owens stuff. And then once that was died down, you know, when they showed, that Ezekiel was not coming back and Elias came back, and Time had passed. Time had passed. The Ezekiel stuff was stupid. At points, I found it entertaining, but they established Elias more for insulting fans and playing guitar than actually working. You know, and that's it. I mean, you look at Elias. Tell anyone out there, tell me, like, what's your favorite Elias match? And don't give me a symphony of, you know, weapons match. You know, you really can't come up with one. I mean, there's some memorable matches, but nothing really. So Elias, unfortunately, they did not want to revisit the guitar stuff. And it's a little surprising because there's a lot of people on the roster now that he could insult the shit out of and have some feuds with. But for WWE, you know, you got to look at the TV product. And the TV product says it all about Raw and SmackDown. You know, they focus on the same 12 people weekly. And everyone else is just a little filler. You know, like if you ever gone to a wedding, like and you sit down and they give you like a really nice appetizer and then they'll give you a really nice salad. And then before they give you like your meal, like they give you like a little tiny little bit of like lemon sherbet, like microscopic, like you need a magnifying glass and you're like, what are you giving me this for? It's supposed to clean your palate. So everything that you had before, you don't taste. So you enjoy the main course more. Oh, fuck you. Give me a bowl. You know, that's basically what they did. You know, everyone else is that little lemon sherbet, just a little filler because we got 3 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Friday. It's the same 12 people every week. It wasn't too long ago, let's be honest, it wasn't too long ago that most of us were saying, wow, WWE's doing a great damn job of giving feuds to everybody, good feuds to everybody. Now it's the Judgment Day run, Monday Night Raw. And yes, I know I intentionally try to sound like Elmer Fudd. It's the Judgment Day run Raw. And then SmackDown, it's let's fill in John Cena. Let's give the colorful Band-Aid for a short period of time because Roman Reigns, we've kind of hit the fucking wall. They've hit a wall. Now all of a sudden you see it. You know, why is Jimmy Uso why is Solo Sikoa allowing Jimmy Uso to be by his side? Did anybody forget how much shit went down between the two? They were brothers. You know, let it go. So, Elias, unfortunately, no place for him. No place for him. NXT, no. I could see him showing up in an NWA. Maybe Impact. I don't see Japan. I see him on the indie circuit. If you want enough of a price, I could see him on the indie circuit, showing up with the guitar. You know, hopefully they got good acoustics in those gymnasiums or the Knights of Columbus buildings, but I could see Elias getting a couple of G's for a house show, you know, an indie show, you know, to insult the local crowd and get beat down by the local hero, make some money there. All right, let's continue. I know some of the names do not get as spicy. I wonder if they fired Aliyah in 3.17 seconds. Her cell phone rang. I don't know what maybe her theme song was her ringtone. Oh, look, it's Stanford. Let me answer the phone. Hello? Aliyah? Yeah, yes, you're fired. 3.17 seconds. I liked Aliyah. I don't understand why they couldn't do more with Aliyah. It's kind of baffling. She signed, though, in 2015, guys. 2015. She was in NXT for 6 years. Like, they did the 3.17 seconds because they were not confident to do 3.17 minutes. As much as we liked Aliyah, as good of a person she is, and how you root for her, and how she gets along with everybody, after 8 years, if you actually be honest with yourself and you watch her work a 5-minute match, you're like, I don't know, man, 8 years, that's an awful long time, man. They had to do the gimmick, the short gimmick, to kind of cover up that her longer matches were not very good. She still has plenty of time to improve. I don't know if she stays in wrestling, that long. I mean, I believe almost everyone on this list will stick around a little bit. Aliyah, for me, only one place I put her, Knockouts division. I don't know about AEW. I think in AEW she would lose to Sky Blue. I don't see her getting momentum in AEW. Of course she could go there, but I could see her Knockouts division. She could end up what Emma was a year or two ago. And what I mean by that, when Emma left the first time around, she's doing that Elaine Seinfeld dancing. I don't remember what it looked like. And then she became Tennille Dashwood, wearing the shades, confident, presence, kicking ass, an impact, kicking ass. WWE brings her back in and we're all excited. This is not the Emma that we used to get. And nothing. Aliyah could leave, become that Tennille Dashwood, and then be brought back to WWE. Remember something, my friends. Charlotte is not going to be around that many more years. And you have some other wrestlers that, their full-time careers are going to become part-time in the women's division. Some of these women could come back 2, 3, 5 years from now, and there may be a good spot open. So Aliyah, we wish her well, but again, somebody after all these years, I think probably, plus you look at how many, listen, on the women's division, when everybody said, oh, bring Indy Hartwell to the main roster, I freaking loved Indy Hartwell in NXT. And even I said, no, don't bring it to the main roster. What are you going to do when you put her on the main roster? How is she going to leapfrog Rhea Ripley and this person and Ronda Rousey at the time and Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair and Asuka and Io Sky and Bayley and Becky Lynch? And it goes on and on. How are you going to surpass that? What is she going to be? The ultimate underdog? No, you're going to do comedy stuff with Dexter Lumis in a way. That's what you're going to do. Bringing someone to the main roster is one thing. What you do with them when they arrive is another. And that's why Aliyah is gone. That's why Aliyah is gone. All right. Moving on. Yo. Ashante Adonis took on Cameron Grimes yesterday in a dark match. I think there's a couple more releases coming. I do. I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, why didn't they let go B-Fab? B-Fab is even worse than Top Dog, because I saw that and I was totally messed up. But there are more releases coming. Listen, some people have to fill roles. Top Dollar, the problem with Top Dollar for me is that on the net, he thinks he's $1,000 in wrestling. He's charismatic. He is funny. He is quick with his wit. He is smart. He is, funny. And he's entertaining as fuck. The thing is, though, is none of that is what WWE wants with him on the main roster. Do you remember when Hit Row first came back? And I said, this is not a racial thing, but black people that are into hip hop, white people are into hip hop, Spanish people are into hardcore hip hop would understand what I mean by this. When you have Hit Row show up on TV as baby faces, and they did that concert, remember that night that they performed in the ring? I don't care how talented you think you are with the microphone. You're performing on SmackDown where there's loads and loads of kids in the audience that don't even, know what puberty means yet. And when you have these this Hit Row rapping, you want to hear throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if Don Tony reveals that he did not change his underwear, oh yeah. Like they wanted simple, funny, happy, yay. No, they're on the mic. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This sounds like militant. It sounds like you're angry. And then you got B-Fab in the background. Yeah, we go rowdy, rowdy, howdy, howdy, bowdy, bowdy, yeah. And I'm like, this sounds angry. It sounds angry. And it failed. And it continued to fail. And no matter how much they threw on, no matter how talented this guy is on social media, on TV, it failed. And he lost, listen, I give this guy crazy credit. He lost a lot of weight because he thought, you know what? That'll give me more stamina. It'll get me smoother in the ring. And then some people were like, you lost too much weight. Like everything about you was this bigger guy that could move around. Look at Bronson Reed. Look at this person. Now you're just like kind of like an overweight guy. The overweight love is in the house. He's just an overweight guy. So he starts putting pounds back on and he starts flubbing in the ring again. And they brought him back. It just never worked. I hope he stays in wrestling. I hope he stays in wrestling, and I hope he does not feel that his shit don't stink, because he might be one of those people that companies are going to want him to work however they want to use him, and I think he's going to be like, yeah, no, there's got to be 5 zeros at the end of that check, not 4. And I think he's going to lose opportunities if he thinks that he's bigger than what he is. But unfortunately, listen, in the world of hip-hop of today, in AJ Francis's world, me, this 50-something-year-old Guido that still likes disco from Queens, New York, don't know a damn thing about hip-hop today. And he and a boatload of people would say, de Blasio, you don't know shit about music today. So don't fucking create, you don't know nothing. I'm telling you, as a casual wrestling fan, for the majority of people out there, that's not the character they were looking for on TV. And then when they finally turned him heel, they want to see you get your ass kicked, but they don't want to pay to see you get your ass kicked. They just wanted to see you get your ass kicked. There's a big difference. People want to see Dominic Mysterio get his ass kicked. People want to see Austin Theory get his ass kicked. People want to see Grayson Waller get his ass kicked. People just don't want to see Hit Row. Just being honest, man. Being straight up, as always. Good luck, Mr. Francis. Oh. Hey, at least they found love. They're basically, was it Heavy D? You think they're looking at each other last night? Now that we found love, what are we gonna do? Now we found unemployment. What are we gonna do with it? WWE released Madcap, Riddick Moss, and Emma. Lovebirds. They met, they fell in love, they're engaged to be married, and they were fired together. I feel bad for Emma because WWE announced that they're going to be going to Australia, which we'll talk about later. Oh, that start time. Brutal. Brutal. Just think when Brock Lesnar fought in Japan for WWE several years ago. Yeah, think that. We'll talk about that later. But, WWE just announced that they were going to go to Australia for Elimination Chamber. She's excited as fuck. And then a couple hours later, Emma, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is you are welcome to attend WWE Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. Well, what's the bad news? You're buying a fucking ticket like everybody else. You're fired. They both got let go. Emma never took off because of the same reasons I gave before. Too many women on the main roster that have established their place. And Tenille Dashwood, Emma, was not going to break through that. WWE was not going to have it. She became very expensive enhancement talent. Period. Everybody is focusing on Riddick Moss, that Paul Heyman once thought he'd be a main eventer. Yeah, there's been a lot of other people that he thought would be main eventers, but nobody pays any mind to it until, everybody else talks about it. Riddick Moss has the look. Riddick Moss has charisma, and he actually could work in the ring. The problem is the madcap stuff never clicked. It was like annoying. On TV, Madcap Moss was just annoying. The way he'd laugh, I was like, oh, I'm going to go take a shit. Like, I didn't even want to see him get beat up. I'm going to go take a dump. I feel like I got to go suddenly. Like, you don't, I have to change the garbage. That's the problem. And then they tried to pair them together. And Emma's trying to get Riddick Moss to have a little bit of a different attitude. And what was that going to do? How was he going to surpass so many other people on the food chain? Did not work out. Riddick Moss was there for 9 years. Holy shit. 9 years. He was, I heard on social media, he took a little shot. He called Triple H, I think, Mr. Levesque, and he said something. It wasn't anything really sarcastic or anything, but you got 9 years from WWE. And listen, even if you made $60,000 a year, which I know is on the low end, was on the 9 years. 9 years. I'm not saying this to be a joke. I hope he saved his money. It sucks when a couple who's trying to build a future together, going to get married, get fired together. But you know what? Impact Wrestling, absolutely. MLW, as a couple, would they ever think Riddick Moss and Emma versus Britt Baker and Adam Cole? No, I don't think so. But I could see them as a couple showing up and kind of causing a little mischief there. Look, Emma is awesome. I mean, she's great. I think Tenille Dashwood in AEW is definitely an improvement. So I could see that. Possibly Impact, possibly. But they weren't doing nothing with them. You see the common denominator. For the most part, for a lot of these wrestlers, WWE was not doing much with them. And some, it just was going nowhere. Okay. I promised I was going to be extremely respectful here. There's no question, over the years, I have criticized Dana Brooke probably more than anybody in wrestling. I don't dislike her personally. I have nothing against her. She tried. She worked hard. She was a team player. But as I have said 1,000 times over the years about Dana Brooke, I say it here now. You could have somebody in Major League Baseball hit in the batting cage 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And in the minor leagues, they might bat 260, but in the major leagues, they bat 190. No matter how hard they work, unfortunately, they just can't fully put it together. That's Dana Brooke in a nutshell. Dana Brooke, you can't teach, timing as much as you think. Sometimes, you ever hear that somebody's all thumbs? Somebody's all thumbs, I don't know, okay, all all right, somebody's old thumbs, like they pick something up and they're like, just drop everything everywhere. There's all thumbs, whatever it is. I'm not saying that she was that sloppy, but Dana Brooke was one of those that she thought she deserved an opportunity because of how long she worked there. It's my time. It's my time. I've earned this. No, you haven't earned it. You could get a trophy, celebrate. Oh, hey, 5 years employed, 10 years employed. Hey, get a plaque. You don't get championship opportunities because you've been there for 4 years, 5 years, 8 years. I've wrestled 500 matches. No, the problem with Dana Brooke was she worked her ass off. She fell in love with wrestling. It bit her. Unfortunately, though, you just sometimes will bat 220. They tried. We even talked about her NXT stuff. Yeah, we wanted to see her turn heel and see, because the crowd was just shitting all over her. And I think that would have been, she would have gotten nuclear heat in NXT if she turned fully heel. The problem is, even with the match with Lyra Valkyria, if you remember when we talked about it, even when we did the watch party, you looked at some of the stuff she was doing, you're like, ugh. Oh man, that just, when someone has to wind up before doing a move after this many years, you can't put it together. And that's one of the things with Dana Brooke. If you watch closely, you see it happen in AEW a lot with Britt Baker and others. It's not a criticism on them, but one of the things that they do is that when they are going to do a running move in the ring, like they will stop in the middle of the ring, pause, and then run to the other side of the ring and then run the other way to get momentum. Like there's a timing. It's timing. Like they have to like start running a certain way to get the timing to hit the move. And unfortunately for Dana Brooke, she worked hard. No question. But she was there for 10 years. 10 years. She got a lot from WWE. Where she goes next, maybe Impact. Indies? Yeah, I could see her do Indies. NWA? I could see NWA. AEW, unless she wants to cut a promo and shit on WWE to try to get over with the fans right off the bat, maybe she does the heel character that never fully developed in NXT. She could be a heel somewhere else, but she would have to get her ass kicked. Her best match was the kendo stick match with Cora Jade in NXT. I mean, she's had more high-profile matches, but Dana Brooke, unfortunately, she got 10 years. 10 years. Let that sink in. She should be nothing but grateful for that. We opened up talking about Mace, Mansoor. Mace, former football player, Houston Texans, New England Patriots, Jacksonville Jaguars. He was in the WWE for 7 years. And when he was Dio Madden, you thought, a little commentary, but the guy was such a physical specimen and a presence. Like, how do you not become a star with that? The Retribution stuff hurt, obviously. I enjoyed what they were doing, him and Mansoor. The problem is where were they going to fit in the bigger picture? In the tag team division, they were going to get squashed. They were going to lose. And money-wise, after all of these years, it just wasn't worth the cost. They were not turning heads. A lot of it is WWE Creative's fault. See, unfortunately, my friends, if I own a business and the business is not, like developing in certain areas, you might complain, but I own the business. I run it however I damn well please. It's not a scapegoat. It's not a cop-out. It's not defense of WWE Creative. But they came up with that dumb shit with Retribution. They came up with maximum male models, which I thought was hilarious. You know, I think the problem with maximum male models is people didn't like what they were doing with LA Knight. If the maximum male models would have come in originally with Maxine Dupree, that could have maybe been a little bit different. But when they came in and they were doing the stuff with LA Knight as Max Dupree, the negative towards Max Dupree rubbed off on them. When they were coming out and doing the tennis collection and the summer collection, this and that was funny shit, man. And Mansoor has improved significantly. Look at the video we opened up the show with. The guy has found charisma. He absolutely should have no problem getting work. What I am hoping that Mace and Mansoor stay together as a tag team outside of WWE. I don't know what you call them. You know, the M&M boys, I don't know what you call them. But you can't use Mace and you can't use Mansoor. But I hope they stay a tag team outside of WWE. I don't think that they would demand too high of a price. I could see them working tag teams on the indie circuit, no problem. I could see them absolutely maybe, doing some work in Impact Wrestling, AEW. Listen, I know we have not brought up MLW much of any of this. MLW, I consider indies. So when I say indies, you could put them on, in there as well. Even with GCW, that's indies too. I just hope they stay together as a tag team because they have fun. And the one thing you could say, especially with Mace, is these two guys did their best to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. So, best love. And listen, again, never say never about any of these people returning. You think back when Drew McIntyre was let go and others were let go. Look at what happened when he came back. I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to have that kind of transformation, but never say never about any of these people coming back. 3 months from now, they might have a change. They might change their mind about somebody. That's not the first time, but I hope they stay together as a tag team. They got something. Shanky, though, I don't know what you do with him. He came into Great Khali's wrestling school, and he tried. He had a decent match in India very recently. The problem is dancing on SmackDown. Like, what else are you going to do? I'm shocked that they did not have him join up with Indus Sher. And you could have mixed and matched. You have 3 guys in Indus Sher, and you mix and match a little bit. For some reason with Shanky, they did nothing with him. They did the dancing thing. I remember that one time he was trying to get Stephanie Irwin to dance a little, and but it just didn't go anywhere. He is still very young. He is someone that I don't know what his wrestling career will be, his future will be. I would not be surprised if he goes back to India. I think he appeared in a movie there and actually did pretty good. I think he could possibly have some a future in entertainment. I think Shanky might be one of those where we really don't see much of him in the future. Maybe I'm way off on that. Shanky is one that I don't see. I mean, you could bring him to NWA and put a manager on him and make him look, like a monster because he's got the size. But, I mean, really, then what? There's something lacking about him, and it's not just facial hair or, it's just, I don't see a big future for Shanky. I'm just being honest. JS says Shanky is a terrible name. That's his real last name. All right. Daba-Kato, I kind of put in the same category as Shanky. To me, Daba-Kato's, my favorite moment is Raw Underground with Shane McMahon. That's it. When they did Commander Aziz, it had some potential. I remember at one point we were curious to see Commander Aziz and Omos go at it a little bit, but Daba-Kato, it just never clicked. When he showed up in NXT, it felt so random, and it just never worked. You know, they tried to have him turn on Apollo Crews, and nobody cared. Unfortunately for Daba-Kato, Commander Aziz, when I said show up in NWA with a manager, he could possibly pull it off. I could see him with a good manager in a company somewhere else. But I don't know how much of a wrestling career he will have outside of WWE. He's more of one of those, persons that is like a giant that you gotta like, silent but violent giant. That might be, his best bet. But I don't see much of a future other than showing up in one of those companies with a manager who could talk for him and just hide, a lot of, his negatives and just put him as like this scary giant. You also think about it, the way they used his hair, the way they used his facial hair, it's like how much more could you tweak on him to make him scarier? So, okay. We shall continue. All right, so now we get to, these I'll go through fast. Yulisa Leon. She was in WWE NXT for 2 years. And, she actually joined the Performance Center, I think 2 years earlier, but they signed her to a deal 2 years ago. This might be, as far as NXT goes, the most surprising release, or second closest. WWE just felt that she has not improved. Her with Valentina Feroz were actually doing pretty good together. But for some reason, WWE just felt she wasn't improving enough. It's a little interesting. When you look at the overall women's roster in NXT, I guarantee you there's probably about 10 to 15 women, and most of the names you wouldn't even know who they were. You'd probably say, I would have let go before Yulisa Leon. Very surprised, because she wasn't killing it in the bank department either. She wasn't making a lot of money. Little surprised that Yulisa Leon was let go. But I will say this, we'll talk about it next week, but WWE trademarked a few names, and one of the names that they trademark is going to be a women's wrestler that actually worked NXT house show circuit, I think yesterday or last week. And there's a lot of buzz that she may be the new tag team partner for Valentina Feroz. But Yulisa Leon, she's someone I could see in AEW. I don't know if she'll go any places, but I could see her in AEW. Knockouts division, maybe. Wrestling, in Mexico, maybe. More than likely. Outside of that, doing indies, possibly. Maybe, all women's league, I could see her working. Outside of that, I don't see much else right now. But look, she's still very young, so she could absolutely return. But I am very surprised because there were, she was good enough and she's not making crazy amounts of money. I'm a little surprised at that release. Okay, this name you would not know at all. Daniel MacArthur. He was just and I'm not trying to downplay. He was an athlete for UNC, North Carolina, and he signed with WWE Developmental, and he was part of the SummerSlam tryouts in 2022. And you remember that infamous remark that Triple H has said that, we'll give you 6 months, we'll give you a year. And if you're not developing, Unfortunately, we have to move on, and we'll, fill that with other people. He is a good example of that. As far as I know, never had a match, just could not put it together. Just because you're an athlete in college doesn't mean you're going to be a sports entertainer or a wrestler. Just didn't put it together. So he's done. Kevin Cortez, a lot of you may remember, he was on Raw early this year, and he and Javier Bernal got squashed by the Viking Raiders. I don't have the photo in front of me, but I remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, NXT did a vignette with him, and it looked like a low budget. If you took Razor Ramon and he had sex with Jackson Andrews, like that's what the character looked like. It looked like a low budget. I don't know what they were trying to do, but if you remember Razor Ramon and what he used to dress in his vignettes leading to his WWE debut, something about Kevin Cortez that they just feel is not improved. He's got a great look and he's a little charismatic, but in the ring, they just felt has not improved enough. So he is gone. Still very young, so he could possibly return in the future. Alexis Gray, someone else who signed earlier this year. And she's a former, I think, fitness model. No, not fitness model. She's a collegiate track star. She was in track and field. She actually did very well in that. You will see that some of these NXT releases are people who had no wrestling background. Yeah, I want to make that clear. Like 3 of the photos I've showed you so far had no wrestling background, no pro wrestling background. She is another example. They brought her in. She was an extra for Chase University. She just, after 6 months or so, they just felt wasn't working. So she is gone. Brooklyn Barlow, she is a fitness model. She's a bodybuilder, fitness model. She wrestled one time on TV, I think, against Ivy Nile. And unfortunately, she could not put it together either. She had no pro wrestling background. She was there for, I'd say about a year, maybe a little more than a year. And they just felt, look, it's not working out. They cut ties with her. So she is gone. Most of these names, as far as their futures, most of the NXT releases I just show you, except for Yulisa Leon, I don't know if they stay in wrestling. I think for some of the names I just showed you who had no pro wrestling background, I think that they will write it off that it was a good experience, and that's it. You will not see some of these people return to pro wrestling. They may think that they could get a little indie work in the meantime to make some money and take care of some bills, but I think a year or 2 from now, some of those people will not be in wrestling anymore. Ikemen Jiro, Jacket Time. He was likable, but you remember when he debuted and I said, this gives me bad Funaki vibes? Funaki was great because he was the original Funaki. This gave me the wrong vibes. And they had him with Kushida. Just something about it, like WWE made him too goofy. I don't want to say too positive, but like you didn't take him seriously. And even when like his jacket got torn and he flipped the fuck out, instead of people popping for that, people are like, go buy another jacket. Like, come on, look at the one he's wearing there. It's watermelons. Go to Etsy. Someone will stitch you up another jacket. He has, listen, of all the NXT releases, he has probably the best future ahead of him. He's wrestled for several years. Wrestle One. I'm looking at my notes. He wrestled for Wrestle One for 6 years. So he's a guy that I could see go back to Japan, Or if he wanted to remain in the States, I could see him absolutely in Impact Wrestling. I could see him possibly get a couple of matches in AEW, maybe on a Rampage or a Collision. Not going to win, but he is a likable guy. Very, very positive attitude. Does not wrestle bad. It's just WWE gave him this really over the top, in this day and age with COVID and a bad economy and social unrest, which has been happening for hundreds of years. But my point is, with so much negative, you want to be positive, but this was over the top positive. The fuck out of here. I wanted to tear his jacket and shove it up his butt. Let him sneeze out those watermelons. I liked him, but honestly, nobody took him seriously. They had him, didn't he MC, or he was the host for, I don't know if it was Stand and Deliver. He was a host for one of the NXT Premium Live events, and it was fun. But still, that kind of money? Nah. But he will have a, listen, I could see him reunite with Kushida in Impact Wrestling. I could see that happening. Absolutely. I like him. I think we will not have seen the last of Ikemen Jiro in wrestling on TV. I defended this guy, man. I defended him. Not the wrestler, but, when he had those issues on social media, there were some people that were trying to just cancel him out. Quincy Elliot, very, very controversial character. The super diva. To me, who am I to talk about weight? To me, it just was like a horrible version of Mabel. And a lot of people didn't like Mabel. When I say a horrible version of Mabel, it's like if you put it this way, if you bought Mabel on Wish or Temu, you get Quincy Elliot. Quincy Elliot got over a little bit with his charisma. You rooted for him. Of course, the character was very over the top. Some of the moves made some people feel a little uncomfortable, not necessarily because of homosexuality, just sexuality, period. But Quincy Elliot, unfortunately, he has not improved that much in the ring. And with so many people looking, with so much baggage attached to him, they just felt, look, it's just not progressing. It's not improving. And they cut ties with him. I see him going to California. I see him working West Coast more than anything else. I do not see him in AEW. Because of the character, could you see some interaction with him and Sonny Kiss? Yeah, I could see that. Do I see him in Impact Wrestling? No. He might be one, unfortunately, that I don't want to say goes the Velveteen Dream route, because Velveteen Dream situation, even though he was cleared, was still much more serious. I see him in a couple of years out of wrestling. Or he goes and drops a lot of weight and transforms his character. But what he's doing right now, I don't see it working well. I see him on the West Coast working indies. That's where I see his future. And last but not least, this one might surprise some people, even if you don't know him at all. Bryson Montana, no relation to Misha. He came in, I would say, about a year ago. A little more than a year ago. He was in the Navy. Bodybuilder, has the look, and can wrestle okay. But when you watch him wrestle, if you look online for some of the footage, what you will learn about Bryson Montana is that you say to yourself, he's not even ready for NXT. Like, that's someone who should be wrestling indies in his local state or local town and start developing a little more. I think the problem with Bryson Montana, it's too much about the look than the substance in the ring. And when you see NXT and you look at Bronco Nima and you look at some of the others that are coming up, Javier Bernal, and there are a lot of wrestlers who are very, 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 very similar in physique and look to Bryson Montana. So he's got to stand out in some way. And right now, just not developing enough. So he is out. And that is your releases that went down. Expect more. Absolutely expect more. And this is going to segue now into the TV deal. Do not be surprised if Raw is soon to be history on the USA Network. I know some people might find that surprising because of how long it's been on TV. Remember, it was on TNN. We got pop. But something went down this week with the TV media rights deal. And I decided, rather than read a press release like every other podcaster is going to do, I decided to do a little research. I decided to go 5 years ago, 2018. How many of you remember that in 2018, SmackDown was on the USA Network? A lot of people don't remember that. I was shocked at how many people tweeted and deleted because they totally forgot that it was on the USA Network. Here's the deal. I'll tell you why I think Raw may be history on the USA Network. In fact, Monday nights, I can't picture WWE not having Raw on Monday nights. Yes, it opposes football. Absolutely. But if you put them on Wednesday, yes, it'll oppose AEW. If you put them on Thursday, they're going to oppose Thursday Night Football. You can't put them on Friday because SmackDown is on Friday. You're not going to put Saturday or Sunday. That's for specials and premium live events. Unless you move to NXT to a different night and put Raw on Tuesdays. Raw on Tuesdays, Tuesday Night Raw, kind of sounds strange, doesn't it? Especially after 30 years. But let me explain to you why that Raw's future on the USA Network looks very dim. Press release came out a couple of days ago. SmackDown returns to the USA Network as part of a 5-year agreement between WWE and NBC Universal. Now, when I get into the numbers, when we look at 2018 and now, it'll kind of show you why Raw's days on the USA Network are probably numbered. All right, the press release. SmackDown will come exclusively to NBCU as one of TV's longest running programs, regularly rating as the number one show in the 18 to 49 advertising demographic. Remember the word advertising, everyone. That's who should be paying attention to that demo. And they talk about the stars. WWE and part of TKO Group Holdings and NBC Universal have agreed to a 5-year domestic media rights partnership that will bring Friday Night SmackDown back to the USA Network beginning October 2024. Additionally, beginning in the 2024/2025 season, WWE will produce 4 premiere specials per year that will air on NBC television, marking the first time WWE will air on the network in prime time. So we may get like Saturday night's main events 4 times a year. We don't know what the specials will be. Now, let's get into some specifics. WWE's 5-year deal is $287 million a year for 5 years, which comes out to about $1,450 million. So they inked a $1.4 billion deal to bring SmackDown to the USA Network. Now, if SmackDown generates $1.4 billion, do you really think that AEW was going to get $1.5 billion from Warner Media? So let that sink in. This TV deal could actually hurt AEW, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people think that SmackDown is the A show right now, and SmackDown is going to get $287 million per year. That is a lot lower than what WWE wanted, period. Fox was not going to give WWE $287 million a year. Now, that's my special effect. Let's flash back 5 years ago. In 2018, WWE signed 2 deals. Their last media rights deal was in 2018. WWE Raw was going to stay on the USA Network, and SmackDown was going to go to Fox. In 2017, Raw was getting about $140 million per year. So when they signed a new deal with the USA Network, they ended up inking a lot more. They went from $140 million all the way up to the twos. You see on this grid. Now, 5 years ago, when WWE issued this press release and showed us this photo, this grid, they were anticipating $435 million in media rights deals in 2020 and $462 million in media right deals in 2021. Now, I want to correct Eric Bischoff, not because I know more than him, but because he kind of got something very important wrong. When WWE negotiated the TV rights deal with Fox in 2018, does anybody remember, because we talked about it, does anybody remember the night that Colin Cowherd went to SmackDown and met with WWE? That was in 2018. And we all ripped Colin Cowhead a new asshole because he was the one that hated WWE. I mean, you remember the horrible things he said about Eddie Guerrero when he died and everything like that. Colin Cowherd shows up because he is a host on FS1. So him, along with representatives of Fox, met with WWE, and they were trying to negotiate a TV deal. And when they negotiated the TV deal, WWE SmackDown at the time was averaging 2.59 million viewers. Kind of interesting. 5 years later, not much growth. In fact, ratings kind of went down a little bit, don't you think? 5 years ago, SmackDown was averaging 2.59 million. Raw was averaging almost 3 million. Remember those numbers when we talk about 2023. When Fox was negotiated with WWE, Eric Bischoff just said with Conrad Thompson that Fox was expecting 5 million viewers. That is not true. SmackDown was getting 2.5 million at the time. Nobody and their mother, nobody in the business world, find me one financial article. You won't, because I did a lot of research. You will not find one article, one analysis, nobody in the financial world in 2018 that was saying that Fox anticipates or expects WWE to double their viewership on SmackDown once they go to Fox. The deal was, at that time, Fox gave $3 billion to get 5 seasons of Thursday Night Football. Fox that year gave NFL $600 million a year to get 5 years of football. Not only that, Get a load of this. Endeavor signed with ESPN Plus that year $750 million a year for UFC. $750 million. Let that sink in, because 5 years ago, WWE inked a $1 billion deal. When you break it down, it is 1/3 of what UFC. Now, you ask yourself, how is UFC making that kind of coin when they're a lot smaller than what WWE is? Because WWE was turning into something where they got to overload you with shit in order to get some type of a return. Let me go one step further. You remember the debut of SmackDown on Fox? Yes, I have to do it because for me, it is a very cool moment in the history of yours truly. When everybody was predicting the debut rating of SmackDown on Fox, my original prediction was 2.5 million, that they would get pretty much what they were getting before. You know, like you weren't going to get 1 million plus more people just to show up. Then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? They're going to pull out all the stops. Brock Lesnar, I think, battled an MMA guy that night. I can't remember who it was. Was it Tyson Fury? I don't remember, but Ronda Rousey's name just, was in WWE, so it was much bigger at the time. And I went on Twitter on October 4th at 7:45 p.m. and I said, you know what? I'm going to add 1.5 million viewers to my ratings prediction. And now my prediction for the debut will be 3.85 million. My tweet is still there. Cain Velasquez. Thank you, Austin. It might be Cain Velasquez. That might have been him. I think that's actually him. But that was my ratings prediction for the debut episode of SmackDown on Fox. 3.85 million. What did the rating end up being? 3.86 million. At the time, it was big news. They're like, DT, how do you change your prediction by 1.5 million viewers? And I nailed it. Because at that time, that newness factor, primetime TV, people that don't normally watch wrestling, curiosity factor, a lot of hype from Fox, NFL, a lot of games were saying, tune into the debut of SmackDown on Fox this Friday, 8 p.m. They were doing tons of that shit. But the problem is, after a few weeks, you're getting the WWE product. There's a reason why WWE SmackDown was getting 2.6 million at the time. That was their viewership. You didn't have, The Rock, there on a regular basis anymore. You didn't have John Cena really being the focal point. The bloodline was non-existent. They were just overloading it with names. Brock Lesnar, this person, and that's how they were getting the viewership. So 5 years later, WWE expects to get more. And Fox is like, after 5 years, we started. You can't count the 3.86 million. That's the debut. Every debut gets a big number. But once they settled in, SmackDown was getting 2.5 million. It's really what it was. Look at the 5 years. The ratings are not as strong as they wanted. If anything, you expect a little bit of growth. You're going from cable TV to, Fox, regular television. And unfortunately, the numbers were not there. So now they negotiate new deal. And remember, 5 years ago, UFC gets $750 million with ESPN. Fox paid $3 billion over 5 years for football. 5 years later, WWE inks $287 million with the USA Network for SmackDown. 5 years later, SmackDown, ratings-wise, is less than what it was 5 years ago. Now you're going from primetime regular television to the USA Network. I think a lot of people think that that rating could go down even further. Sure, people will find the channel. I mean, people aren't stupid after a couple of weeks. But the thing is, it's unless you have. Remember when The Rock showed up last week and we were comparing it to other shows this year? Every show that had a rating anywhere close was a special event, the trial of Roman Reigns, Roman's 1,000-day celebration. You have John Cena on there now, and it's not drawing. You got Cody Rhodes on Raw. You got Jey Uso on Raw. You got big names on TV, and it's still not drawing loads of numbers. And listen, it kind of backfired yesterday with them, with John Cena's beatdown. I mean, we're not going to do a big SmackDown recap today because we're already at 2 hours. But when John Cena was getting beat down yesterday by Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, did you hear anybody go LA Knight? No, you heard people going Rocky, Rocky. People actually think that The Rock is sticking around. The Rock is going to make the save for John Cena. The Rock is going to get involved with the bloodline, and it's going to lead to the match of Roman. This is what happens when you bring someone back for a one-shot surprise in the neighborhood. Hey, let's get a little bit of buzz going. You think that The Rock appearing or John Cena appearing was done? You remember all the morons a month ago that said, oh, they brought John Cena back to help with the TV deal? WWE's been negotiating a TV media rights deal for a year. This didn't just happen overnight. They knew that ultimately SmackDown was going to go back to the USA Network unless Fox wanted to beat the offer. And Fox said no. Because John Cena appearing in 2023 has nothing to do with SmackDown's TV deal starting in October 2024. What this is doing is to help keep stability. When Vince McMahon said in the meeting early this week that everybody thought it was cute to say, oh, yeah, everybody rolled eyes when he said that WWE's becoming stagnant. You give it a month or two, and you'll see Vince McMahon was right. Because now they just inked a 5-year TV deal, and they're only getting $287 million. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare it to 5 years ago, that is a disappointment. Stock goes down. WWE, ratings, Raw, historic lows. Not that the product sucks, but fans are like, you know what? I'll watch YouTube. Rock gets 100 million views. You think Fox is happy about that? Rock gets 100 million views on YouTube. SmackDown gets 2.6% of that. WWE fans are now like, hey, I'll watch football live. And then I'll watch WWE on streaming media. Value goes down. Investors, when was the last time you heard investors or WWE touting how much money they make in ad revenue on YouTube? And that makes investors say, yeah, I want to invest. You don't hear that much. So the thing is, when you figure this out, 777 says it's a 40% increase from their last deal. You got to look at this graph. Look at what WWE thought projection of their revenue from the media rights deals in 2020 and 2021. As high as $542 million in 2021. They're going to get $287 for SmackDown next year. If SmackDown is considered the A show, Raw is 3 hours, obviously. But if SmackDown got $287, how much do you think Raw is going to get? Raw's ratings right now are nowhere near SmackDown levels. 5 years ago, Raw was averaging 3 million viewers. Now Raw is averaging about half of that. So when you go and you negotiate, you think the USA Network, who just laid out $287 million for SmackDown, is going to lay out another $250 million for Raw? And if they ain't $250 million for Raw, that stock will plummet even more because that is nowhere near what they were expecting after 5 years. The ratings have cut in half. If the USA Network was going to get Raw, why not just announce a TV media rights deal for all the shows? Why would WWE and USA issue this press release? Why would they issue this press release and just leave Raw off of it if they were going to work out something with Raw anyway? So the fact that they went ahead and issued that press release tells you that Raw's future on the USA Network is very slim. Then you got to say to yourself, the numbers keep going down and there's no big storyline in your pocket because the Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes stuff, remember, Cody will finish the story and SmackDown will still be on Fox. The TV deal does not kick in until October of next year. Cody would have already finished the story. What is WWE Raw and SmackDown going to look like a year from now? What happens if somebody major retires? You know, I'm surprised we're not seeing Brock Lesnar back on TV. In fact, I would not be surprised if Brock Lesnar shows back up on Raw within the next month. They got to spice up something. But the deal is, when you look in 2017, 2016, when WWE was getting $140 million for Raw, and then they upped that to $2 in the twos, and then they ink the $1 billion deal with Fox. And now 5 years later, the rating has gone down on Fox. The rating is about 50% of what it was in the USA Network. What kind of TV media rights deal do you think they're going to get for Raw? Unless, like Amazon or somebody out there wants to grossly overpay. You know, listen, I'm not trying to criticize Tony Khan, but some people feel that Tony Khan overpaid and a lot of wrestlers just so he could have them. If a streaming service or a TV channel desperately wants wrestling and really wants to tout that, they could overpay for the product. Fox did not look to overpay for WWE. Fox signed with WWE, and after 5 years, they feel, you know what? We didn't get as much as what we hoped we would get. We're not interested for 5 more years. If Warner Media was so excited about AEW, why didn't they already announce a TV deal? You know, I'm not throwing shade on it, but it makes you realize, you know, if anything, Warner Media was probably, this is what I truly believe, and I'm telling you I'm going to end up being right. Warner Media probably said to AEW, you know, we're going to see what WWE is going to get for their deal. And that will give us an idea of where AEW stands here. Should AEW get as much as Raw? Should AEW get as much as SmackDown? I don't think so. Not at all. And especially that Warner Media has investment in AEW, media rights deal, I think would be even lower, wouldn't it be? So I think Warner Media stood on the sidelines to see what WWE is going to get, and then they make their play. So now, again, for the simple reason that USA and WWE announced SmackDown, tells me that Raw is done on the USA Network, or more than likely done, unless WWE gives them a sweetheart deal, which I don't expect, because that fucking stock is down 16% since the announcement of the TV deal. 16%. That is billions of loss for TKO already. The WWE releases did not play a factor because WWE has been doing mass releases for 20 years. We cover on a history show. Every year we seem to come up with a list of 10, 15, 20, 30 people. So releases are nothing new. But at the end of the day, it's about that bottom line. And when you see the TV media rights deal for SmackDown, a lot lower than what investors projected. Raw's TV media rights deal, unless somebody is going to overpay, going to be lower than investors expect. The future of Saudi Arabia's deals with WWE may be a lot lower than people expect. Record low ratings for Raw. Storylines in a lot of ways stagnant. And they're playing right now with colorful Band-Aids, splicing in people and bringing John Cena in and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, the stock is going to start dipping. And when Vince says we pulled the trigger, because WWE was running stagnant, imagine what WWE stock would be right now if they didn't do the deal with Endeavor. If WWE was still up for sale right now, WWE would not be worth $9 billion right now. WWE may only be worth $6 or $7 billion. And the future deals make the outlook look not horrible, but disappointing. So believe me when I tell you, we got to pay attention what happens with Raw. NXT, I don't know if it's part of the package. I don't see WWE doing a media deal with USA just for NXT. But I would not be surprised if another outlet takes Raw, if they consider putting it on Tuesday nights. Then you got to ask yourself, what do you do with NXT? Do you put NXT back on Wednesday nights? I mean, NXT, got their ass handed to them many times with AEW on Wednesday nights, but NXT is pretty much holding their own right now. And I think NXT on Wednesday nights again is not out of the question. So, to be continued, friends. Hopefully, I explained everything. I see some questions coming up and some super shout outs as well. We will definitely get into everybody's super shout outs in a few moments. I want to mention quickly about Australia for those that are interested. WWE announced that the Elimination Chamber is going to be coming to Australia, Perth, Australia. And I have a live shot of something I'm going to show everybody in a minute. Perth, Australia, Saturday, February 24th at the Optus Stadium. All right, so now for my North American friends out there, people that live in the United States, Canada, Mexico, based on WWE start times for events, as of right now, Elimination Chamber, if I were to watch it live, it would be at 6 a.m. So 6 a.m. Saturday, February 24th, that's when this would air. It actually may not be all that bad because I normally do the Don Tony Show Saturdays at noon. So we may even be able to do an Elimination Chamber recap on normal schedule. But if you are in my neck of the woods, the start time and the pre-show would be at 5 a.m. Between 5 and 6. It could start an hour later. But here's the thing about WWE coming to Perth, Australia. And I want to show you this live screenshot. I am pulling up for everybody right now Google Maps. This is Australia. Pretty big if you look at it. If we zoom in a little bit, you will see that we have the Northern Territory. You see Queensland. And believe me, I'm going somewhere with this, everybody. You'll appreciate it. Here's Queensland. You look at the different areas of Australia. Here's New South Wales. And I'm mentioning areas that people outside of Australia are familiar with, including me. So you're looking at these areas, pretty populated. Right in the center of Australia, you got South Australia here. You look, this is pretty. So now we go to Perth. Okay, we got Western Australia. Here is Perth. Anybody look at this and ask yourself, this is not going to be a Wembley situation because, sorry guys, if I live in New South Wales or Baldonia, I am not going from here all the way over to here. Perth is like the boondocks. I don't know, man. And look at the surrounding areas. You got forest. This is where they decided to have Elimination Chamber. I don't know. Maybe they just got a crazy good deal. Maybe they're going to get some revenue back from the country, not just, in the form of ticket sales and merchandise and everything, but that is the country of Australia. And you look at the size, and then here's little Perth. Here's little Perth all the way down here. That's pretty wild, man. Look at that. So, yeah, I'm a little confused as to why they chose that area. Yeah, it's a little strange, right? Benjamin is asking me, is the stock down $16 or 16%? You could pretty much use either number because the stock was right around $100 a share when all this shit was flying. It's down at least $16 a share. Could be down even a little bit more. So just wanted to answer that for you. So that's what we have looking forward to for Elimination Chamber. Perth, Australia. So there you go. SmackDown yesterday, we only had 3 matches. I kid you not. The 3 matches that we had, I don't even, well, I'm pulling my notes up because of Rampage. Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar defeated the Street Profits. The news coming out of this is that Bobby Lashley read the riot act to Angelo Dawkins. Bobby Lashley wanted Angelo Dawkins cheat a little bit. You know, he's basic. Well, actually, I should kind of tweak that. Bobby Lashley assisted to try to help the Street Profits win. Angelo Dawkins looked a little bit confused, paused, and then Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar capitalized on that pause. And Angelo Dawkins was rolled up. And then after the match was over, Bobby Lashley read the riot act to Angelo Dawkins in the back. Give me back the suits. I'll go find someone else. You know, and Montez Ford is looking at him like, you know, shit. You know, like Bobby Lashley is not happy with the Street Profits right now. This is going to cement the heel turn for the Street Profits. Or if they decide they want to put Montez Ford as a single star, that could lead to this. Listen, Bianca Belair and Montez Ford with that reality show coming up, Montez Ford is going to be doing a lot of positive media. And, you know, having him a full-fledged heel on TV kind of might complicate that a little bit. But Bobby Lashley, and you don't want this, that maybe the Street Profits get sick of Bobby Lashley doing this and it's like, we're out. We don't want that. But anything is a possibility. Now, before I go any further, I got a little video treat for you. It's only about 2 minutes long. I want to thank Johnny for sending this over for me. Last night, SmackDown, after it went off the air, they got a couple of dark matches. Now, the reason why they got these dark matches is because they only had 3 matches on television. And I already gave you one of them. One of the dark matches, and this is why fans in attendance were fine about only having 3 matches on live TV. One of the dark matches that aired after SmackDown went off the air was John Cena versus Montez Ford. Here's the closing moments of that match. For my audio friends, you could skip the show about 60 to 90 seconds. No commentary. This is fan recordings. That's the only reason why we're allowed to share it. There you see Angelo Dawkins trying to cheat. Angelo Dawkins doing a little heel. Montez Ford, little pissed because Angelo Dawkins gets ejected. Montez Ford takes his eye off the ball. And here's how the match ended. Montez Ford don't understand. Oh, look, it's devastating. My partner was brought to the back. Big fucking deal. Yeah, gaga. Gaga goo-goo. Turn around, Montez. Turn around. There you go. 1, 2, 3. You can't see me. Hey, the fans went home happy, everybody. Yeah, your typical John Cena match, right? That's it. I still call it the FU. All right. Typical John Cena Gaga match. Angelo Dawkins cheats, gets ejected. Montez Ford in shock disbelief. Takes his eye off the ball. John Cena, 3 moves of doom. Little FU. I still call it the FU. And gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. So that's why fans in attendance didn't mind just the 3 matches on TV. Before I give you the other 2 results, Becky Lynch also wrestled the dark match yesterday. Monday, we're going to get into WWE revealed her schedule for the next month. A lot of NXT Women's Championship title defenses. She defended the NXT Championship yesterday on SmackDown in a dark match, but it was interesting. She took on Zoe Stark, and Zoe Stark, even though you really don't see it here because this is only the final minute, Zoe Stark, again, playing the heel, contrary to what we've been seeing on Raw. This is the closing moments of, I almost said Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch defending the NXT Women's Championship against Zoe Stark. That's actually, you know what, Zoe Stark, big part of NXT in recent memory. I'm fine with it. Zoe Stark almost with the pin. A little frustrated. See some fans left already. There you go. Manhandle slam. All right. So those were a couple of dark matches. I said earlier, Cameron Grimes over Ashante Adonis. DJ and Vision. Welcome to the family, DJ. 2 other matches yesterday. One of them pissed me off. And it shouldn't have been the one that pissed me off. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller beat the Brawling Brutes. Totally fine with it. Austin Theory getting nuclear heat yesterday. Loved it. Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, a tag team that many of you and me months ago wanted to see together. We're getting it. I love it. 2 douchebags, character-wise, teaming up. Perfect. Do not change that. Leave it the way it is. But the match that upset me yesterday was Io Sky successfully defending the Women's Championship against Asuka. The reason why I hated it, didn't hate it. The match was fire. Io Sky and Asuka, give me more, give me more, give me more. But the crowd knew exactly how the outcome was going to be. Charlotte Flair was at ringside. Charlotte Flair got involved a little bit. Bayley's at ringside. Bayley trying to help cheat to win. Charlotte negates that. So next week we're going to have Charlotte versus Bayley. And that's kind of like a distraction feud. So Charlotte doesn't fight for a championship right now, and neither does Bayley. But what really upset me about this match was the crowd reaction. The crowd was deader than dead for a lot of parts of this match. Not only that, Asuka, who, you know, the fans are still treating as a baby face, and WWE has shifted back into that area. Asuka put the Asuka lock on Io Sky towards the end of the match. And there was even a point where Bayley tried to get involved and Charlotte Flair negated her. And Asuka really, you know, locked in that Asuka lock. If you go back and you watch the finish, the crowd did not react at all. All you heard was white noise. That crowd had no reaction. Like usually when somebody puts their finisher and it's somebody you like and it's a baby face and they're fighting for a championship, you know, you lose that suspension of disbelief. You get excited. Holy shit, EO, tap, 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 tap. And the crowd was indifferent. Totally indifferent. So what ends up happening, you get a little bit more of a distraction, clusterfuck, Io Sky, beautiful moonsault, pin, 1, 2, 3. And the crowd was dead. Deader than dead. And that's beyond disappointing, because Asuka versus Io Sky, I don't want to say it's a fantasy match because we've seen them interact with each other, but that's the feud that everybody wanted. And we got what we got yesterday. And when you got that live crowd that is just going through the motions where they know where this match is headed, if I know that someone, no matter what they're doing, they have no shot at winning, and I can't even get energetic to just try to like subconsciously convince myself that, oh, maybe Asuka is going to win this. Maybe, because of Bayley's interference backfiring, maybe Io Sky breaks away from Bayley. No, we just got more of the same. And once the match is over, Asuka is not in a better place. Io Sky is in where she's in. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a rematch, but it just felt flat yesterday. And we did see like more anticipation of Pretty Deadly. We saw what else did we see yesterday? We saw Alba Fire and Isla Dawn putting the women's tag team division on notice. They got a bright future. Absolutely. I mean, the women's tag team division right now, even though a lot of people feel that it's horrible, it seems like it's on more of an even playing field. So, anything is possible. Maybe they will win the tag titles, but there's going to be a stop in NXT along the way. So get prepared for that. Yesterday's Rampage, it was a loaded 2-hour show. I think they're going to do a pretty damn good rating. I mean, they loaded this shit up. Let me just give you a quick match results. Darby Allin and Sting over Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Chris Statlander over Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Anna Jay. The Kingdom become the number one contenders for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. They defeated the Hardys, the Righteous, and Best Friends. The Acclaimed of Billy Gunn retained the AEW Trios titles, defeating the Dark Order. Julie Hart over Sky Blue, Santana over Bear Boulder, and the main event, Hangman Page and the Young Bucks beat the Mogul Assembly, I believe, to become new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. And I'm a little surprised that people haven't figured it out. That I almost feel like Claudio Castagnoli lost the Ring of Honor World Championship because we may end up seeing a trios feud coming up with the Blackpool Combat Club against either the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn or the Young Bucks and Hangman Page. I think that's the only reason why Claudio lost that title, because they're going to reform as trios, and they're going to start putting trios matches featuring the Blackpool Combat Club again. Now, Jon Moxley suffered a concussion during this match, and I got to call out two people. And I'm sorry to have to do this, but I think I am very fair in praise and in criticism. I got to call out the elite media. More importantly, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. I also call out the right side of we got the opposite side. That's a better way to put it. People analyzing Jon Moxley's concussion before he went to the hospital, before he had concussion tests done, not just, how many fingers I got up? Very, very stupid. I saw wrestlers, podcasters, journalists, old wrestlers, new wrestlers run to YouTube to get that YouTube revenue, micro-analyzing everything that happened with Moxley, where they don't fucking know the extent of his concussion as of yet. I will say this. If Jon Moxley suffered the concussion 10 seconds in, or if he suffered it towards the end of the match, how the fuck does Ray Phoenix in his right mind hit the same finisher twice, where the first time it looks like you dumped Moxley on his head? Obviously, Moxley didn't hear the 3 count and just laid there, didn't even have the instinct to get up. I mean, I could see if Moxley didn't hear the 3 count and then just went like this because he thought that it was time to kick out. He just laid there. And you have a clear head like, let me do it again. I just thought back to Owen Hart versus Steve Austin. Now, it's different because Steve Austin couldn't even get on his feet But can you imagine if Owen Hart, did that move and went for the pin and Steve Austin kicked out or didn't kick out and said, let me do it again? That I thought was awful. But this just goes to show you the extent that some people go. And it's not just stupidity. Let me show you two things. I want you to look at a tweet that Dave Meltzer put online. I love you, Dave, but come on. Now, the only reason why it says follow, I follow Dave Meltzer. This is a screenshot that someone else posted. I didn't feel like screenshotting it. Dave Meltzer posts that Jon Moxley was diagnosed with a minor concussion. All right, you want to put the minor there because, you want to make it seem like, it's no big deal. And that kind of justifies why Jon Moxley, finished the match and the referee did not call for the bell early. And, this kind of reminds me of Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy stuff. But you know what pisses me off and disturbs me about this tweet? Look at the fucking time it was posted. Dynamite was not even off the air yet. Who the fuck is going to diagnose Jon Moxley not even before the show ends and have a final diagnosis that, he only suffered a minor? Why? Because Jon Moxley said, guys, I'm fine. I just got knocked a little bit for a loop. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, that's good enough for me. What the fuck was that? How do you write that before Dynamite goes off the air? That's number one. Gruss is saying AEW doctors will do it. Yeah, that's fine for a preliminary, but you still send the person to the hospital. You get tests done. You get your brain scanned. That takes hours, if not a day or two, to get results. But they wanted to make everybody feel good before the show went off the air. Don't worry. He's okay. He's a tough son of a bitch. He's got the arthritis of a 70-year-old, but he's a tough son of a bitch. Don't worry about him. It's just mild. Just shake it off. He'll have a beer. He'll blade himself. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. That is awful. What's even worse is this. Imagine saying this about someone who got hit with a concussion. This is Brian Alvarez analyzing Jon Moxley's match having the concussion. Listen to this closely.
Because, this is a very complicated thing. You don't want to do a match with a concussion, okay?
No, you don't.
Number one. But goddamn, for like a match with a guy that got a concussion in the first 10 seconds of a match, I'm not sure there has ever been a better match that a guy worked the entire match with a concussion. Like, people didn't even know. It's not like Kurt Angle. Remember when Kurt Angle got the pedigree through the table?
I can't.
And everybody knew that his corpse was being carried through.
I can't even. For a guy that had a concussion the whole match, that's the greatest match that I've ever saw with somebody having a concussion. I just this is, I can't. I'm just going to, I'll use analyze. I just think that's ridiculous. Listen, you want to put the word out there that it's not serious, but to say that he was diagnosed with a mild concussion, as good as Doc Samson is, and I'm not criticizing him, he is not the replacement for the hospital, for tests and brain scans and everything else that they do. So if you want to say that Jon Moxley appears to be okay, but they're sending him to the hospital for safe precaution, or, early word is he may have suffered a mild concussion, but they're sending him to the hospital to get further tests done just to be careful. That's responsible. To just say he's been diagnosed with a mild concussion makes you believe, tests were done, we're finished. Meanwhile, in the back, I'm going to put this light. It's almost like a DWI test. I'm going to follow my finger. You think Moxley did this? I hate when smart people talk stupid like that. God damn, he had a fucking concussion. That's the greatest concussion match I ever saw. Idiots. Just stupid. Fucking stupid. All right. Collision tonight looks like a lot of fun. I'm serious. I'm going to tune in tonight. Jay White versus Andrade Idolo, put together. If you want to just see it for match quality, that's fine. Darby Allin will be taking on Christian Cage. Wait, what is this? Darby versus Luchasaurus versus Christian Cage? That doesn't make sense for the TNT Championship. All right, whatever. But they should have clarified that a little bit more. But it looks like all three of them for the championship. That'd be funny if Christian Cage pins Luchasaurus, if that's the case. But one match I think is going to be fun. It's going to be Gaga, but it's going to be fun. Hook is going to team up with Rob Van Dam to take on Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange 2.0. So RVD gets a second match with AEW. He's teaming up with Hook. FTR will be defending the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Workhorsemen. And Ricky Starks versus Bryan Danielson in a Texas death match. Be prepared for interference. But that is a solid Collision. I mean, a lot of the matches are just thrown together, but you got a little bit of everything there. I can't complain. I really can't complain. I mean, look, yeah, CM Punk is not there. Hey, life goes on. Shit happens, life goes on. But it's a solid card. I think that's going to be a good show. All right. I still have notes here. I want to make sure I didn't leave anything out. No, I didn't. Quick plug for those that are interested. Kevin and I will be returning on Tuesday for your next edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. Pretty interesting that now we kind of have some topics of discussion worthwhile. We would definitely talk about it. We are also going to talk. We are absolutely going to talk about some of the morons online that, changed their profiles to pretend they were Fightful and Meltzer and others, and they were reporting people released that weren't released. How many of you out there feel bad for Tegan Knox? We didn't even talk about Tegan Knox, and I didn't want to bring it up because, it was totally unfair, but I think Mark Henry might have made a mistake. But Mark Henry, the word going around is that Mark Henry on Busted Open said that Tegan Knox was released. And everybody flew with it and just reported that she was released. Excuse me, sneeze alert. Thank you. I muted the sneeze. This is like what, the sixth time in 27 years I've sneezed live on a show. I'm allergic to work, everyone. I'm sorry. But, Tegan Knox got released. People were reporting Liv Morgan, Karen Cross. You just go on and on and on. And to me, that's just, we'll talk about it on Tuesday. But we got other things as well to get into. So make sure if you're part of our Patreon family, we'll be live. If you're not, no worries. It'll be on dontony.com for everybody afterwards. Tomorrow night, we have the sit down live at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Hey, everybody, it's 9/24 day. If anybody goes back to the 2000s with yours truly, you know why it's 9/24 day. Yeah, we will shout out Joey. We will talk about Joey. It'll be 9/24 day. So we'll have a fun show tomorrow. And I think that is it. Now, what we'll do is I will answer a couple of super shout outs, but, I'm not selfish or a cheapskate here. I mean, we'll definitely answer a couple of questions in the live chat as well. Let me just do a couple of shout outs first. You know what, Neil? I thank you very, very much for that, my friend. You did not have to do that, but believe me, it helps. He sent a 50 spot over. He says, I am so happy to see John Cena back. Can't wait to see him fight. I hope this new merger organization does well. Do I think The Rock is being lined up to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania in Philly? He said he was set for WrestleMania that just passed, but things fell through. Thank you again, Neil. I'm happy to see John Cena back. I got to be honest with you. He took a beating yesterday from Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And I like that they were teasing the match for Fastlane. First, John Cena wanted to fight last night. And yes, John Cena was not leaving the building yesterday without having a match. You don't troll live fans, especially if it's Cena. That's why when Cena said that WWE, WrestleMania deserves to be in the UK, it's happening. You don't go out there if you're Cena and make a statement like that and not happen, especially when a merger is just about to be completed. John Cena teasing yesterday that he wanted to fight last night. You knew he was going to wrestle. John Cena being back, as I watch him, I just wish he got the hair plugs. The back of his hair, I just wish he would have gotten some hair plugs, like last year, because that would have been filled in by now and it just wouldn't make him feel so old. He's not old, but it reminds you that he is aged, that he's on the tail end of his career. But the thing is with John Cena, as I watch him take a beating yesterday, as I watch him go gaga with Montez Ford, as we're going to see him at Fastlane, you are reminded that Cena could still work. Why he downplayed his match with Austin Theory at WrestleMania is a little confusing still to me to this day. When John Cena said that he doesn't have it like he used to, and he doesn't want to embarrass himself, and he doesn't want to, he really gave the impression, look, we know Cena can't do what he did 15 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago. But Cena, after that WrestleMania match, made himself come off as if he can't do it anymore. That's it. He can't do it anymore. He'll just do it now. And then suddenly we get this. So I'm a little confused for that statement that he made right after WrestleMania. I'm happy that he could still go. Absolutely happy he could still go. But a little confused as to why he did that. As far as Rock at WrestleMania, I don't see it. Again, Saudi Arabia, I don't know if The Rock would appear at Saudi Arabia. I just personally feel you got to remember, if The Rock negotiates for a return, it's got to be with TKO Group Holdings. Vince McMahon, as much as The Rock loves Vince only has 16% majority ownership. And even that, you see the LA Times tried to capitalize on that. Oh, Vince may be forced to accept, and that's all you needed to do. You had LA Times threw a fishing line into the ocean, and a bunch of schmucks all ran for the bait. Vince McMahon may be forced. You think TKO Group Holdings would have put him as the fucking chair and make him and literally rub it in people's faces up to this week? If they thought that there was a good chance Vince was going to be forced to step down. They want to start off with the right momentum, not the wrong momentum. But you got people out there. I want to see how these people react. I hate to say it like this. I want to see how people react once Vince is no longer here. Can't use that story anymore. Just like you can't blame Russo for shit on TV anymore. I don't see Roman Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania. It's a marquee match. It's a money match. But they're making their money whether The Rock takes on Roman Reigns or doesn't. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes has to be the story finished. It just, period. The Rock, even if he were to have a Mania match, then what? If Roman Reigns retains and The Rock leaves again, you're going to have people say, you know what, as much as I really enjoyed The Rock versus Roman Reigns, you know what, Rock is only here temporarily and now he's gone, and they kind of fucked up Cody Rhodes' entire story for 2 years. People will use that for decades. Cody Rhodes will finish the story. The Rock and Roman Reigns could still happen, but I don't think it happens at WrestleMania 40. It could happen at WrestleMania 41. It could happen in Saudi Arabia. It could happen at SummerSlam next year. A title does not have to be on the line. Just like, on a tiny scale, Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes does not have to feud with Trick Williams for the NXT Championship. Carmelo Hayes will have a better feud with Trick Williams if Melo doesn't have the title anymore. So Trick could cheat to win, and there's no belt change because Trick is not ready to be NXT Heavyweight Champion. The Rock and Roman Reigns might be a lot more entertaining if Roman Reigns doesn't have a belt, because nobody in their right mind thinks that The Rock is going to become champion. The Writers Guild strike is almost over. The Rock is going to be back in Hollywood. The Rock is making millions and millions in Hollywood, and you're not going to throw a full-time worker, the role model, the number one guy outside of Roman Reigns, the number one, PR guy that still wrestles in Cody Rhodes, and throw that all away for that quick hit, which is The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's not happening at 40. Doesn't make sense to happen at 40. And I don't want to see the Daniel Bryan thing that I brought up last week. Remember when Daniel Bryan was, they brought in Batista, and everybody was doing the yes movement, and then Batista came back with his funny pants. And then we ended up, what do we get? Triple H, Batista, and Daniel Bryan. The outcome was still good, but people didn't want Batista thrown into that. So I don't want Rock, Roman, Cody. I picture the billboard. I picture the banner, the poster. I've got my eyes closed right now, and I picture Roman Reigns in the middle, Rock on one side, Cody on the other. Yeah, that's money. Maybe they do that. Cody would still finish the story if Cody not only beats Roman Reigns, but beats The Rock also, that's pretty good bragging rights. But preferably Cody versus Roman. Preferably no triple threat. But if they were forced to do the triple threat to give everybody a little something, I'll take it. It's not my first choice, but I'll take it. Thank you, Neil. Much love. Much love. El Guerrero 316, thank you for the 5 spot. Let's keep DT show funded. Listen, I appreciate it. Shit gets expensive. Obviously, this is not free, and this is a lot of work, a lot of time. It's almost 3:00 in the afternoon here on Saturday, and by the time I edit and put everything online, you realize with all the prep for today's show, I must have spent about 10 hours putting the show together. It's not easy, especially when you're competing with, clickbait and bigger shows out there. You try to do a little something. But like I said, if I don't ask everybody to financially contribute, it helps. It keeps me in business, obviously, but just download the shows. Go to DonTony.com and download the audio shows. That helps. It keeps my numbers, honest, because, my numbers get skewed because here's YouTube, here's iHeart, here's Patreon, here's this, here's video, and nothing is all in one place. So when you see those chartable numbers, I'm always in the top 50, but my numbers would be, twice as high if it was only one area where you got numbers from. So believe me, download those shows. That helps more than you know, and they're free. So, but thank you for that, Guerrero. Much appreciated. Triple X, thank you for the 2 spot. Shelton in AEW will be treated like Jay Lethal. Shelton has a comedy aspect of himself. I would actually think Jay Lethal and Shelton Benjamin as a team would be interesting. I think Jay Lethal versus Shelton Benjamin would be interesting. But I could see it on a Collision episode. I don't know if I think Shelton... Look, somebody said earlier Prince Nana with Shelton Benjamin. I don't know if that would fit. I don't think Shelton Benjamin needs a manager. Sure, he's not the most charismatic person on the mic, but Shelton Benjamin on his own does just fine. I like Shelton Benjamin. Listen, wherever he ends up, I just hope we can see it. I don't want to hear, oh, did you hear Shelton worked the show last night? Oh, that's nice. I want to see it. When we're wrestling fans, we want to see the people that we like. So, unfortunately for some of the people that will be released, you may not see them on a TV set ever again. So, thank you for that. Steve Joseph, do I see Roman Reigns competing at Fastlane? No, I don't. But I could see him showing up. Or the following SmackDown. I said this earlier this week. I don't remember which show. Roman Reigns will appear either at Fastlane or the SmackDown afterwards. I personally am leading to the SmackDown after Fastlane because I think whatever the outcome is at Fastlane, if it ends up being LA Knight and John Cena versus Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa cannot win that match, I think Roman Reigns, it's getting a little played out of Paul Heyman, call Roman Reigns. It's getting a little played out. Fans don't want to see that shit. Roman Reigns has got to appear. I think Roman Reigns needs to address Jimmy Uso. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I know you read between the storyline. It's stupid. Like, what do you mean, what am I doing here? I'm Bloodline. I never said you were back in Bloodline. Well, for me, as a fan, Roman, what the fuck you doing home for the last month then? You're seeing him on TV. You see him taking control. You see him booking matches. You see him signing contracts. Like, what are you doing? So the storyline, if anybody has any last minute questions, Relax and Go, shout out to you. I'm one of the few pods you still listen to. I appreciate that. Andrew Reed thinks that Shelton Benjamin should be in the Blackpool Combat Club. That's not a bad idea. I just think the Blackpool Combat Club has kind of run its course. Nobody in the group is from Blackpool. I mean, I get, because of the William Regal aspect of it, but they keep the name because they're a faction. I tell you, Shelton in the Mogul Assembly, or, you know what I mean? Like, the more I think about it, I could see it. You said Jay Lethal earlier. What about Swerve Strickland and Shelton Benjamin? I don't know. I don't know about that one. And listen, we're not saying those guys because they're black. Let me make that clear. I'm just looking at groups. Let me put it this way. I don't see Hangman Page and Shelton Benjamin teaming up. You know what I mean? So, man, there's possibilities there. There is definitely possibilities there. William Regal, still in the WWE, yes. In fact, oh man, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I'm gonna pull a screenshot. Maybe I'll show it on the sit down tomorrow because that show is very relaxed. I'm sure a lot of you out there on Twitter, sometimes you get like weird, like on the top. Trust me, this has to do with William Regal. It has to do with his son. This is going to be wild what I'm going to say. I can't even believe I'm bringing this up. When you go on Twitter, at the top of Twitter, you could select following, and all you see on your timeline is people that you follow and the posts that they make. Or you could see, I think it's recommended or suggested or something like that. If you click that category, you see not only your followers, but they suggest other people. I know some of you out there, as I, have been having a problem where nudity will pop up on the suggested side. You're friends with someone that might be an adult entertainment, and they're friends with people, and then it becomes a suggested thing. Some people in wrestling have OnlyFans pages. It becomes a suggested page. So about a week ago, I go on Twitter, and, I had the suggested category selected, and I see some people's stuff on the wall I don't normally see, and a couple of nude posts pop up, and it's, XXX pages. And there's a video of a guy. It's going to creep you the fuck out. I swear it's William Regal's son. I swear to God, it's his son. I don't want to say what it is. I could censor it out, absolutely. But the guy, is with a girl, and he's about to visit the forest, let's just say, smell the roses, and he turns and he looks at the camera, and the hair, the eyes, but more importantly, the William Regal, facial reaction. I looked at it and I'm like, that's Charlie Dempsey. Holy shit. I mean, I swear to God, you remember when I showed you the doppelganger of that football player and Karrion Kross? When I show you the picture tomorrow, I promise you, it's got to go viral. You will swear that it's William Regal's son caught in a Triple X home video. I don't know why it showed up on my feed. It's almost like the sex gods, and I don't mean Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. The sex god said, Don Tony, here's a little gift. I'm going to show you someone who looks like Charlie Dempsey about to munch. I haven't talked to Lars Sullivan in a while. I hope he's doing all right. He made some foolish mistakes when he was a lot younger, and it continued to haunt him. I think Lars Sullivan and Velveteen Dream should go in the Indies and team up. Seriously. Nuclear Heat, get beat up from the local heroes. Indie money. Versus saying, am I only friends with porn stars? No, I got friends everywhere over the years. I make friends with people online. For some reason, it gets people mad sometimes. I don't get it. Like when Matt Riddle got released, obviously this was something that WWE TKO had decided a while back. And he happened to get sick. So that was probably their best scenario. Like, hey, yeah, stay home, get well. Oh, you don't feel good? Yeah, next week. Oh, Matt, listen, I hate to tell you, but that's really what happened. But like suddenly, because I'm friendly, with them, like suddenly, like I'm his keeper. Like, oh, DT, you said this and that. Like, no, what do you think I like videotape? Like when they're like, I don't know them like that. Like, it's just weird. It's like how people went after me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like everything that I said was true. Wasn't a lie. All right. Machiavelli says Riddle is like CM Punk, too much backstage problems. Well, you know what? Issues, absolutely. With CM Punk, though, like I said, CM Punk still everybody hide him. Everybody hide him. If you really look at his resume, you say to yourself, this guy's been a jerk for most of his, adult life. I mean, but he wrestles spectacular. And, he also does help some people. There's a lot of people in AEW that absolutely love CM Punk. CM Punk has helped, but they can't talk about it. And if they have before, they won't talk about it again. They'll just wish him well and move on. So, okay. What happened to Velveteen Dream? As far as I know, he is out of wrestling. He actually was announced for an indie show not too long ago. And I don't know if he was pulled. I don't think he was pulled, but I just don't think maybe another couple of years he could come back. I mean, he was good in the ring. Very controversial, flamboyant, charismatic, had the look. Just unfortunately, listen, man, I'm telling you, I'm older now, but even 20, 30 years ago, even 20 years ago when we was doing Minority Report, you get a lot of people that'll DM you, oh, I'm a big fan of the show, doing indie stuff. You get a DM, hey, like this. And then you look at somebody's profile and they're 13. I don't mingle. Thank you for the support. Much appreciated. And you move on. I don't, hey, I'm up. It's 4:00 in the morning. Let's chat. And then you're surrounded by, some adults and some youngins. I mean, that's the thing that blows me away about Velveteen Dream. I don't care how bored, how lonely, how much insomnia you have. I do not go on a live chat in the middle of the night and start talking to, preteens and teens, about school and training, or, oh yeah, if you're really interested, I could show you this guy. No. If you're interested, come down with your mom and, maybe you could meet like one of the, you don't do that. No matter how innocent you're trying to be, no matter how helpful you're trying to be, somebody's going to distort that, man. Michael is asking, any plans on the next Forbidden Door episode? I'll tell you the truth. I was going to ask Matt Riddle if he wanted to come on. Thing is, though, if that happens, it's not going to be for 3 months because he's got 90-day no compete and he is not open in his mouth. And personally, I don't think he's going to really talk about this. There's a lot that I know he doesn't want to talk about. So I would love to have him on, but we would definitely not talk about a few topics, and that'll piss people off. Kevin and I talking across is still a possibility. There's nothing out of the ordinary there. I haven't really thought about it. There's been so many things going on that there hasn't been time to really take that in. I still would love to get Vince Russo on. There's a few people that I would love to get on. We'll see. For me in a perfect world, I'd love to get Tony Khan on, but he would never go. And I would not do Gotcha either. I think I would rather, honestly, I think with Tony Khan, if I really had him on, I would want to talk about his, how he became the fan that he is. I'm not talking about, oh yeah, an ECW, I like not embarrass him, but talk about like a little bit about what got him here. And so people could maybe understand a little bit more like why this is, why that is, but that'll never happen. All right, we're going to leave in 90 seconds. So we go, I want to plan this so it's exactly 3 hours. 3 hours, exactly. Am I going to have some gabagool? I don't like gabagool. I like ham gabagool. I call it gabagool. Ham gabagool. It's like kind of like a ham. They have hot gabagool and sweet gabagool, which is like sausage. To me, it's like biting into like raw fat. Vince McMahon. I would love to meet Vince before, it's too late. But, I got to say this. I'll finish with this before we go off the air. Something to think about. It's morbid, but something to think about. When it's Vince McMahon's time, and I'm dead serious when I say this, do you think Vince would be buried in an unmarked grave? Or do you think like he might be put in a mausoleum? I just can't picture Vince being buried in a cemetery like everyone else. Because I could only imagine some of the YouTube videos that'll pop out, people visiting him. I wonder what happens with Vince. My gut feeling is maybe a crypt or mausoleum, but I think the mausoleum indoors, I don't even think an outside crypt because I could just imagine vandals, people doing stupid stuff, but, or cremated. You think Vince would be cremated? I don't know. Just something to think about. Seriously, like, what do you think is going to happen to Vince? Like, I just can't picture him just being in a cemetery. I could just imagine people showing up with YouTube videos, visiting his grave, and all right. I'm out of here, everyone. I want to finish this at exactly 3 hours, which means I am gone. Much love.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.